Chapter 3036. Then, it used its claws to point at Sun Jingyi on the ground and Hua Xiaoyan not far away, indicating that Lin Yi should treat them first. Lin Yi nodded. Since the purple electric tempest beast could hold on for a while, Lin Yi naturally had to treat Sun Jingyi first. Placing his hand on Sun Jingyi's meridians, Lin Yi quickly circulated the second level of the art of dragon mastery. Lin Yi's true qi flowed continuously into Sun Jingyi's body. After about half an hour, Sun Jingyi slowly woke up. Seeing Lin Yi beside her, Sun Jingyi felt a little relieved. It seemed that Little 1 and Little 11 were no longer around. She didn't know if they were dead or had escaped, but in any case, the danger had been resolved. However, when Sun Jingyi woke up, Lin Yi's expression didn't improve. Instead, it became even more serious. Lin Yi, what's wrong? Sun Jingyi woke up happily, but when she saw Lin Yi's expression, she was a little puzzled. Jingyi, do you feel that there's something wrong with your body? Lin Yi asked. Inside my body? What's wrong? Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi with some surprise. In your body, there's true qi that doesn't belong to us. Lin Yi said, this true qi seems to have taken root in your body and is on par with your own true qi. When my true qi entered your body, it turned into two parts. One part mixed with your own true qi, and the other part transformed into another kind of true qi. After Sun Jingyi healed Lin Yi, the true qi in her body was the same as Lin Yi's, but it was a different kind. But it didn't belong to her either. Sun Jingyi ran the mantra of the Sun family a little and noticed that something was wrong. This is that Tagan Dragon's vital energy. Sun Jingyi immediately recognized the source of the vital energy. Tagan Dragon? Lin Yi frowned. It seemed like Sun Jingyi was healing Tagan Dragon. The 11th had used some unknown method to cause the true qi in Sun Jingyi's body to mutate. Thinking of this, Lin Yi asked, try and see if you can heal me now. I'll treat Hua Haoyun first, then you can tell me what's going on. All right. Sun Jingyi nodded and began to run the mantra carefully, checking the vital energy in her body. The next moment, Lin Yi came to Hua Haoyun's side and began to heal him. Although Hua Haoyun was seriously injured, it was not fatal. At this time, he woke up and saw that Lin Yi had healed Sun Jingyi's injuries quickly. He was extremely surprised. From the looks of it, Hua Hao was not exaggerating at all. He knew very well how serious Sun Jingyi's injuries were. She was on the verge of death. But in the blink of an eye, she could stand up. She could move freely. Thinking of this, Hua Haoyun was suddenly excited and proud of his choice. If he had not made the prompt decision to follow Lin Yi to deal with little Yi, then Yang Shuaizhen would have been hopeless. Thinking that Yang Shuaizhen could still be saved, Hua Haoyun's desire to seek revenge on the everyday and everyday sect diminished. After all, the everyday and everyday sect was not a weak sect. Instead, it was extremely powerful. Unless it was absolutely necessary, it was better not to provoke them. Boss Lin Yi, you're really amazing, Hua Haoyun said quickly when he saw Lin Yi walking over. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He thought to himself, when had I taken Hua Haoyun as a follower? This guy really knows how to pull strings. Hua Haoyun seemed to have seen through Lin Yi's thoughts, so he smiled and said, Hua Hao and I are sworn brothers. You're Hua Haoyun's boss, so naturally, you're my boss too. So he was introduced by Hua Haoyun. Lin Yi nodded and did not dwell on this. After all, if Hua Haoyun had not resisted little Yi for a while today, Lin Yi would not have been able to torture little 11 for so long. Speaking of which, Lin Yi was very grateful to Hua Haoyun. The two of them did not know each other, and it was only Hua Haoyun's introduction. It was already very good that Hua Haoyun could do this. Even if he had an ulterior motive for helping him, he was still a sincere person. I'll help you heal first. If there's anything, you can tell me now. As Lin Yi spoke, he stretched out his hand and grasped Hua Haoyun's pulse. How do you want me to cooperate? Boss Lin Yi? Hua Haoyun had not healed his injuries before, so he did not know what to do. You don't have to do anything. Just wait, said Lin Yi. All right, I'll need boss's help for this. Hua Haoyun nodded and began to tell Lin Yi about his background. Boss, I'm sure you've heard that our Flaming Mountain has sent a disciple to participate in the Sky Elixir sex test. However, this person is not ordinary. He's the grandson of the Grand Elder of Flaming Mountain, and also a good brother who grew up with me. Oh, I know. The one you're talking about. Is he called Young Hero Yang? Lin, he had some impression of this person. Young Hero Yang was killed by Zhang Naipeo, and Shu had also told him why Hua Hao Yun was looking for him. You mean, you want me to help you get revenge on Zhang Naipeo? Yes, his name is Yang Shuasian. Hua Hao Yun nodded quickly, but said, there's no need for revenge. The everyday sect is very strong. After fighting with those two just now, I realized that I'm not strong enough. I can't harm you, boss, so I don't have any thoughts of revenge. Then why are you looking for me? Lin, he was a little puzzled. If he wasn't going to get revenge, what else did Hua Hao Yun want from him? Lin, he really didn't understand. It's like this, boss. I want to ask you to help me heal Yang Shuasian. Hua Hao Yun hesitated for a while before saying his goal. Yang Shuasian? Lin, he was stunned. Isn't he dead? Why do you need to heal him? He's not completely dead yet. He's still breathing. Hua Hao Yun smiled bitterly and told Lin about Yang Shuasian's experience. Oh, he's not dead yet? Lin, he was a little surprised. That's possible, but can you bring him here? I'm afraid not. I'm afraid that he won't be able to take the long journey. Hua Hao Yun shook his head apologetically. Boss, can you come personally? No matter what the reward is, as long as Flaming Mountain has it, you can ask for it. We'll definitely satisfy you. Chapter 30-37. He should only have 1 year of life left. Hua Hao Yun said, 1 year, that's definitely not a problem. Your Flaming Mountain is located in the Hakuna Mata Desert, right? Lin, he knew the location of Flaming Mountain. Yes, it's right next to the Hakuna Mata Desert. Hua Hao Yun said, Boss, do you know this location? And I may have to go to the Hakuna Mata Desert for a while. I can find you on the way. Lin, he said, okay, that's great. Hua Hao Yun was pleasantly surprised. I'll thank you on behalf of Shui. You helped me a lot today. You don't have to thank me. I'll contact you when the time comes. Lin, he said, okay, your injuries have healed. I've healed. Hua Hao Yun didn't expect that while he and Lin were chatting and laughing, his injuries had already healed. What kind of amazing recovery method was this? Lin, he seemed to have healed his injuries very easily. Of course, although Hua Hao Yun saw that Lin, he looked very relaxed. He didn't take it lightly. Lin, he looked very relaxed. But if it was someone else, they would probably die of exhaustion and not heal others. I've healed. Lin, he said, if you want to stay here, then stay for a few more days. If not, you can go back today. Okay, I'm not in a hurry. I'll go back with you, boss, and then I'll leave in a few days. Hua Hao Yun said, but he didn't ask why Lin, he was going to the Hakuna Mata Desert. After all, it might involve Lin Yi. After Lin Yi finished healing Hua Hao Yun, he began to heal the Purple Lightning Beast. After healing the Purple Lightning Beast, Lin Yi was busy healing the Sun family members. Old Man Sun, Sun Jingyi's uncle, these people all needed Lin Yi's treatment. They were busy until the evening before they all recovered. The Sun family members knew that Lin Yi had saved them, so they were naturally grateful. Mr. Lin, thank you so much. Elder Sun prepared a table of banquets, then looked at Lin Yi with a smile. If you hadn't arrived in time, our Sun family would have been in danger. Not only would Jingyi have been killed, but Jingyi's second uncle and I might have died because no one could save us. Old Man Sun is too polite. This is what I should do. Lin Yi smiled. Originally, I wanted to find a good day to talk to Old Master Sun about this, but since I am here today, I will say it directly. Is it about you and Jingyi? This was naturally not a problem. I totally agree. Old Man Sun said directly. Jingyi already said it after she came back. I don't need to worry about her following you. Sun Jingyi blushed, but she was very happy. In fact, when Sun Jingyi came back and told him about Lin, Old Man Sun still had some concerns. After all, Lin Yi already had a few girlfriends. If Sun Jingyi got involved, Old Man Sun was afraid that Sun Jingyi would be at a disadvantage. But now it seemed that Lin Yi was still very reliable. At least when Hao Sun was in trouble, he could be the first to come. Thank you, old man's son. Lenny smiled and said gratefully. This banquet was very harmonious. Wu Chintian and Fire Cloud also came to eat. Old man's son, on the other hand, felt a little awkward when facing Wu Chintian. After all, Wu Chintian was Sun Jingyi's former pursuer, and Old Man's son had tacitly allowed Wu Chintian to pursue Sun Jingyi. But Wu Chintian didn't feel awkward at all. He had lived in Lin Yi's house for a long time, and Sun Jingyi had also lived there for a few days. Their relationship had long changed. Wu Chintian only treated Sun Jingyi as his sister-in-law, and he didn't have any other thoughts. Seeing that Wu Chintian and Sun Jingyi were chatting freely without any awkwardness, Old Man's son breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that Lin Yi was quite charming. Not only did Wu Chintian give up on Sun Jingyi, but he was also willing to be his follower. Of course, this wasn't all that surprising. When Old Man's son learned about Fire Cloud's identity as an ancient sect, he was completely shocked. Lin Yi actually had an ancient follower? This was too strong, wasn't it? However, when Old Man's son learned that Lin Yi didn't only have an ancient follower, but also a local tyrant of the Yellow Earth High Sect, he suddenly realized that the distance between him and Lin Yi was getting further and further. The difference between the two wasn't just a little bit, and Lin Yi probably didn't care about the hidden house level anymore. Little One brought Little 11 and Tag On Long all the way. They didn't even have time to get a car. They ran for dozens of kilometers before they rented a car and sped in the direction of the Heavenly Elixir sect. The person who rented the car didn't suspect anything. He thought that Little 11 was receiving acupuncture treatment there, and Tag On Long was also a patient, so he didn't ask much and brought Little One and the others along. In the car, Little One couldn't help but want to call Elder Xianxian several times to tell him about today's encounter, but after thinking about it, he decided against it. It was better to talk about these things in person. Finally, after the torment of the journey, Little One brought Little 11 and Tag On Long to the Heavenly Elixir sect. For the last journey, the rented car couldn't send them off, so Little One could only walk. Along the way, Little 11 remained silent. Although she had survived, she didn't even say a word to Little One, perhaps because she had suffered too much shock and her body was too weak. Looking at Little 11's miserable appearance, Little One secretly planned in his heart. Previously, he had pursued Little 11 because she was the daughter of Elder Xianxian and also because she was a heaven stage expert with extraordinary strength. But now Little 11 was probably crippled, and there would probably be several holes in her body. She had completely become a cripple. What was the use of marrying such a woman? At this moment, Little One was thinking about how to distance himself from Little 11 in the future. It had to be said that the disciples of Elder Xianxian all had crooked thoughts. If the upper beam was not straight, the lower beam would be crooked. This was also reasonable. Knock, knock, knock. A series of hurried knocks on the door interrupted Elder Xianxian's cultivation. In fact, it couldn't be considered cultivation. With Elder Xianxian's strength, he rarely cultivated. It was more about understanding the heavenly Tao. Although this kind of understanding was actually very ethereal, and few people had succeeded before the heavenly island opened, this was the only well-known way to advance to the heavenly Tao, self-understanding. Chapter 3038. Who is it? Patriarch Xianxian opened his eyes a little annoyed. When he was cultivating, he refused to be disturbed. This was his rule. There were people guarding the door, but someone knocked on the door. Patriarch Xianxian was naturally angry. However, the person outside the door did not answer Patriarch Xianxian. Instead, he pushed the door open and entered. Patriarch Xianxian was about to lose his temper, but when he saw the person who came in, he was stunned. Little One? Little 11? What's wrong with you? When Patriarch Xianxian saw Little 11 covered in silver needles, he immediately lost his composure. He suddenly stood up and strode over. This was his biological daughter. Master, when Little 11 stimulated Sun Jingyi and forcefully healed Tag On Long, Lin Yi came. Little 11's silver needles were pulled out from Sun Jingyi's body and inserted into Little 11's body. However, I don't know what's going on, but Lin Yi actually knows how to use the 9 Fushi needles. Little one lowered his head and said to Patriarch Xianxun in a low voice, 9 Fushi needles? This is the 9 Fushi needles? Patriarch Xianxun was stunned for a moment. Then, a solemn expression appeared on his face. He stretched out his hand and placed it directly on Little Eleven's meridians. After a slight inspection, Patriarch Xuanxun's expression became even worse. Ancestor Xianxun had also studied the 9 Fushi needles, but it was not suitable for him to cultivate, so he let Little 11 cultivate it. And in the entire 5 Elements sect, only Little 11 cultivated the 9 Fushi needles. After all, there was only one set of replicated divine weapons, and only one person could cultivate it. However, the current situation was that the 9 Fushi needles that Lin Yi used could only be neutralized by someone who knew the 9 Fushi needles. Moreover, the strength of the person who neutralized it had to be able to suppress the strength of the person who used the needles. However, the 11th couldn't circulate the mantra at all. His meridians were sealed by the Fushi 9 needles. Once he tried to circulate the mantra, it would affect the true chi sealed by the Fushi 9 needles and cause an explosion. Dad, save me. I don't want to become a cripple. Little 11, who had been holding back all the way, suddenly burst into tears in front of Patriarch Xianxun. It's all that bastard Lin Yi's fault. Dad, you have to avenge me. Kill him. 11th, I'll think of something. Don't cry first. Patriarch Xuanxun's expression was very gloomy. But Lin, he can't move now. You can't move? I'm already like this, and you still can't avenge me? Little 11 was stunned after hearing this, and looked at Patriarch Xianxun in shock. This time, we touched Lin Yi's woman, Sun Jingyi, to heal Tag On Long. It's not reasonable at all. We relied on pretending not to know what kind of deep relationship Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi have, and played a word game. If we don't touch Boss Bai's disciple, then Sun Jingyi isn't Boss Bai's disciple. Patriarch Xianxun sighed and said helplessly, but in the end, Sun Jingyi is Lin Yi's woman. In this way, Sun Jingyi is also Boss Bai's disciple. Just like in our sect, if you marry a wife and have children, the wife has to call me master, and the children call me grandmaster or great master. This is the customary rule of the cultivation world. If Lin Yi didn't appear, then we could still muddle through it. Now that Lin Yi has appeared, the moment he appeared, what we should do is immediately stop and apologize, not fight him. Now that you have lost the battle, we can't say anything about it. Although Little 11 was arrogant, she was not a person with low IQ. After listening to Patriarch Xuanxun's explanation, she also knew that she was not in the right in this matter, but she was unwilling. She liked to abuse people, but she did not like to be abused. Now, she'd been abused by Lin Yi, and Little 11 still could not take revenge. She was unwilling. Her eyes flashed with infinite hatred like that of a lioness. Master, I think that the most important thing now is not to study Lin Yi, but to save Little 11 first, and then see how Tag and Dragon is doing. This is the most important thing now. Little One calmed down at this moment. What was the purpose of them looking for Sun Jingyi? Wasn't it to save Tag and Dragon? They didn't even think about looking for trouble with Lin Yi, and so Lin Yi didn't care about revenge. Although they'd been humiliated today, the bigger picture was more important. He was a person who could yield and stand tall. Otherwise, Patriarch Xianxun would not have nurtured him, the eldest disciple, as a successor. Little 11, take a rest first. I have to study how to solve the silver needles in your body, Patriarch Xianxun said to Little 11. Elder Xianxun said to Little 11. In fact, although he didn't agree with taking revenge on Lin Yi on the surface, he hated Lin Yi to the bone. He couldn't wait to kill Lin Yi. Now, he was going to treat Tag and Dragon. Now, he did not know whether Tag and Dragon had recovered or not. Instead, another person was injured, and it was his own daughter. How could Patriarch Xianxun not be angry? Dad, but my silver needles are in my butt. I can't even lie down. Little 11 said anxiously with a sad face. This can't be helped unless I find someone who knows how to use the 9 Fushi needles and let him help you solve it. Otherwise, I'm afraid you will be injured by the explosion if I help you pull out the needles. How could Patriarch Xianxian not be worried about little 11? However, he had no other way. There was nothing he could do. That's right, little junior sister. Bear with it first. You don't want to be injured by the explosion, right? Little E also reminded, if your Dantian was not sealed, then it would be fine. Master, and I would quickly pull out all the silver needles in your body. It doesn't matter if you're injured by the explosion. Just take a recover pill, then these external injuries can be healed. But your Dantian is sealed. You can't refine it at all. Once the silver needles in your Dantian are removed, your Dantian will also explode. After hearing this, little 11's face suddenly flashed with a sad look. Previously, she was still excited that Lin Yi's Dantian was destroyed and he was poisoned. In the blink of an eye, it became her who was at her wit's end. The most infuriating thing was that she had the ability to resolve the 9 Fuxing needles on her body. But because her meridians were sealed, she could not use the mantra. Okay, Dad, big senior brother, then help me think of a way as soon as possible. This can't go on. Little 11 said helplessly. Patriarch Xianxian nodded and did not say anything else. Instead, he walked to Tag and Dragon's side, squatted down, and carefully checked Tag and Dragon's condition. Chapter 3039. Is that so? Master, Tagon Long has recovered? Little One was also pleasantly surprised. Tagon Long was the key figure in that plan. Without him, he and Patriarch Xianxian would not be able to advance to the heavenly Tao and return to the primordial level. And it seems like the Sun family's mantra is really extraordinary. Patriarch Xianxian nodded and said, Little One, take Tagon Long to rest now. Give him a small rejuvenation pill, and he will probably wake up tomorrow morning. Yes, Master. Little One nodded and took Tagon Long to rest. After Little One and Tagon Long left, only Patriarch Xianxian and Little 11 were left in the room. Patriarch Xianxian turned his head and looked at Little 11 with a sigh. Some things were not easy to say in front of Little One. After Little One left, Patriarch Xianxian said, 11, there's nothing I can do either. I can't cultivate the 9 needles of Fuxi, so I can't help you resolve the true qi in it. Then what about me? Won't I be like this for the rest of my life? Can't I lie down and rest? Little 11 turned pale with fright, and his voice became hoarse as he yelled, Dad, you have to think of a way. There's no way. Patriarch Xianxian shook his head. Unless Lin Yi helps you. Then let him help, okay? We'll give him what he needs. Doesn't he want the qi gathering pill? We'll give him a few more and let him save me. Okay? Little 11 said anxiously, there's a saying that goes, to take something, you must first give it. Let's give him benefits first, then wait for him to save me before we kill him. Okay? Little 11. Patriarch Xianxian suddenly shouted. Stop fooling around. Give Lin Yi the qi gathering pill. He's already an early stage heaven stage expert. If we give him a few more qi gathering pills, he'll directly advance to the peak of the late stage. At that time, who can kill him? Unless a large group of experts besieged him. Besides, would Boss Bai be willing? Would he watch as a large group of experts besieged Lin Yi? Little 11 immediately shut his mouth. After a long while, he said pitifully, Then what should I do? I'll help you slowly pull out the silver needles. Don't think about your meridians and Dantian. It's fine if you don't want them. You could just be an ordinary person. As for the injuries on your body, they won't kill you. I'll treat you. Although it's impossible for you to recover to your original state, no one will be able to see you wearing clothes. Patriarch Xianxian was actually very indignant, but some things couldn't be resolved just because he was indignant. In that case, wouldn't I become a cripple? How would I be able to marry eldest senior brother then? 11th was shocked and hurriedly asked, There's no need to think about marrying Little E. You've lost all your strength and become a cripple. There's no way he'll marry you. Patriarch Xianxian waved his hand and said, In the future, he will set foot on that level with me. As for you, you must stay here. I can't guarantee that I can bring you to Heavenly Island, but in theory, it's impossible. So I'm going to marry you to another disciple of mine who I'm more optimistic about. Who is it? Is he handsome? Little 11 asked quickly after hearing this. In fact, she didn't have much feelings for Little E. She was a person like Patriarch Xianxian. She was cold and vicious. Kong Mingming. You should have met him, Patriarch Xianxian said. Ah, I got it. All right, then it's him. Little 11 was overjoyed. Kong Mingming was a real handsome guy. He was handsome and elegant. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to charm Xiao Fan. He came to the Heavenly Elixir sect and seduced Little Peach easily. This was enough to show that Kong Mingming had the potential to be a pretty boy. Therefore, when Little 11 heard this name, she agreed without thinking. However, Little 11 was a little puzzled and said, "By the way, isn't Kong Mingming engaged to Little Peach of the Heavenly Elixir sect? I can't be the little one. I have to be the big one. Don't worry about this." Moreover, Kong Mingming has already broken off the engagement with Little Peach. The two of them aren't suitable. Kong Mingming's character is similar to yours and mine. He's sinister and vicious. It's not suitable for Little Peach to be with him. The two of them don't have anything in common. Patriarch Xianxian waved his hand and said, "On the other hand, the two of you should have a lot to talk about together. So, I'm going to matchmake the two of you." "That's great. It saves me the trouble of thinking of a way to poison Little Peach to death," Little 11 said happily. "However, although you're my daughter, I know this disciple of Kong Mingming very well. His sinister character is not inferior to mine. You are just ruthless and not sinister enough. I'm afraid that you will suffer in front of him in the future. So, as your father, I want to teach you a set of unique skills," Patriarch Xianxian said to Little 11. "Oh, what unique skill?" Little 11 was slightly stunned. "Unique skills in bed." Patriarch Xianxian waved his hand and said, "Although your appearance is thousands of times better than Little Peach, the scars left on your body are hard wounds. I'm afraid that when the time comes, Kong Mingming will lose interest in you. For my sake, he won't break up with you, but he won't touch you either. If that happens, your fate will be very tragic. And this set of skills in bed can allow you to tie down Kong Mingming and make him enjoy you so much that he forgets to leave." It had to be said that from the perspective of scheming, Patriarch Xianxian was still much better than Kong Mingming. Kong Mingming was unknowingly schemed against by Patriarch Xianxian and his daughter. "Okay, Dad, teach me quickly." Without the skills, Little 11 also calmed down. Next, he would have to rely on Kong Mingming to mess with people. Only by locking down Kong Mingming's heart could he better help him mess with people. But before that, I'll help you remove all the silver needles from your body," said Patriarch Xianxian. "Okay," Little 11 nodded. Hence, in Patriarch Xuanqian's room, there was a pig slaughtering howl. If one didn't know, they would think that Patriarch Xianxian had killed his daughter. Early the next morning, Taganlong woke up as Patriarch Xianxian had said. Little 11 hurriedly told Patriarch Xianxian the good news. However, when Little 11 saw Little 11 wrapped in bandages like a mummy on Patriarch Xuanqian's bed, the corners of his mouth twitched twice. It seemed that the silver needles in Little 11's body had finally been removed, but Little 11 had been blown to such a miserable state. Chapter 30-40. Therefore, Little 1 instantly lost interest in Little 11. Even if marrying Little 11 could make Patriarch Xianxian value him more, he was not prepared to do such a thing. However, on the surface, he still pretended to be very concerned and said, "Master, how is Little Junior Sister's injury?" "It's all right. Her life is not in danger, but she has lost all her strength." Patriarch Xianxian sighed and said, "Little 1, I have something to tell you. It's about Little 11's marriage." Little 1 was stunned and smiled bitterly in his heart. Patriarch Xianxian was not going to betroth Little 11 to him, was he? That would be fucked. It's like this. Little 11 has lost her strength. I think it's no longer suitable for her to be with you. How could Patriarch Xianxian not see through Little 1's thoughts? However, he also understood that Little 1 was someone who had set foot on the heavenly way with him. Marrying a useless Little 11 was indeed a bit of a burden. Master, I didn't mean that. Little One did not expect Patriarch Xianshun to say that. Was he testing him? Thinking of this, he quickly waved his hand and refused. Little One, this is not what you want. It's what I want. However, Patriarch Xianshun said, I'm preparing to betroth her to Kong Xiaoming. It should be very difficult for Kong Xiaoming to advance any further. He relied on swallowing medicinal pills to advance, and there's basically no possibility of him setting foot on the heavenly law. If he and Little 11 stay here, it could be considered that the Five Elements sect here will have an heir. I see. Little One thought about it, and it was indeed like this. It was fine as long as Patriarch Xianshun did not blame him. So he nodded and said, that's also a good thing. I'll congratulate little junior sister. Eldest senior brother, don't forget to attend my wedding. Little 11 smiled at Little One. She had also thought it through. Kong Mingming was very handsome, and most importantly, he was suitable for her. Although Little One was strong, he would definitely go to Heaven Stage Island with his father. Haha, of course. Little One smiled and said, at that time, eldest senior brother will definitely give you a big gift. Thank you, eldest senior brother. 11's mood was slightly better today. By the way, why did you look for me so early in the morning? Has Tagon Long already woken up? Patriarch Xianshun waved his hand and gestured for little 11 to stop there. He had checked on Tag and Dragon's condition yesterday, so he wasn't worried. In his opinion, Tag and Dragon would definitely wake up today. Yes, master. Tagon Long has woken up, but his body is still a little weak, so he can't visit you personally. Little One said, oh, it doesn't matter. I got it. Patriarch Xianshun said, I'll go see him myself later. Okay, master. Little One said, then I'll go down first. Call Kong Mingming over on the way. I have something to tell him. Patriarch Xianshun said to Little Li. Yes. Little One nodded and retreated. Not long after, Kong Mingming came to Patriarch Xuanzhen's room. He had already broken off the engagement with Little Peach. Kong Mingming was very happy these few days, but he also heard the news that Little One was injured by Lin Yi, so he had to pretend to be sad at this time. Disciple greets Master and 11th senior sister. Kong Mingming said respectfully. However, when he saw little 11 covered in gauze on the bed, he was still shocked. What's going on? Have the silver needles in her body been pulled out? Only by pulling them out would there be such an effect, right? Thinking of this, Kong Mingming couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Little 11 was Patriarch Xuanzhen's daughter. Now that she was abused like this, would Patriarch Xianshun let Lin Yi go easily? That was obviously impossible. Xiaoming, your engagement with Little Peach has been completely canceled, right? Patriarch Xianshun glanced at Kong Mingming and asked, yes, it has been canceled. Kong Mingming replied quickly. Very good. In that case, I will be your matchmaker again. Patriarch Xianshun nodded and said, matchmaker? Kong Mingming was slightly taken aback. Master, you mean to introduce me to a partner? That's right. Patriarch Xianshun said, I'm going to let you marry my daughter, little 11. Kong Mingming was completely stunned after listening to Patriarch Xuanzhen's words. Marry little 11? Isn't that the mummy on the bed? Kong Mingming heard that after little 11's silver needles were pulled out, her whole body would be full of holes. Moreover, little 11's strength would be lost, and she would be a useless person. If Kong Mingming married her, she would be worse than Little Peach. Although little 11's face was prettier than Little Peach's, if he took off her clothes at night, little 11's body would have big holes and small eyes, or only half a butt or half a chest. Wouldn't that scare him to impotence? Why? Kong Mingming, you don't agree? Patriarch Xianshun frowned slightly and asked. No, I'm just too happy. Kong Mingming was shocked. How could he dare to disagree? This was Patriarch Xuanzhen's daughter, and Patriarch Xianshun was the matchmaker himself. If he refused, he would probably be kicked out of the house. Therefore, no matter how unwilling Kong Mingming was, he could only pretend to be very happy and said, this happiness came too quickly. I can't bear it all of a sudden. I'm stunned. So you agree? Patriarch Xianshun asked. Parents' orders are like the words of a matchmaker. Master is like a father. Your arrangement is the will of your disciple," Kong Ming said quickly, but his heart was bleeding. If he knew it would be like this, he wouldn't have asked little Peach to cancel the marriage. He really regretted it. But what was the use of regretting? Kong Ming could only accept the reality of being married in front of him. "All right, since you agree, I'll find a day to hold your wedding." Patriarch Xinshan nodded in satisfaction. "Okay," Kong Ming thought. "How could I say no? What a scam. Lin Yi, I'll never forgive you. You crippled this piece of trash and gave her to me. One day I'll definitely kill you." Kong Ming swore in his heart. Lin Yi returned to the villa from House Sun with Wu Qintian and Flaming Cloud. When Meng Yao opened the door, she was slightly taken aback. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be back. When Qintian left the villa, although he didn't say anything, Meng Yao didn't think much about it. After all, Qintian often drove out to buy things. Meng Yao thought that Qintian was back, but when she saw Lin Yi outside the villa, she was surprised. "Lin Yi, you're back? Aren't you still at home?" Chapter 3041. "I'm back. Something happened at Jingyi's house. I came back in a hurry. Let's talk inside." Lin Yi said to Meng Yao. "Okay." Meng Yao opened the door, and Lin Yi drove the jeep into the yard, but another car drove in right after. Meng Yao paused. "Lin Yi, whose car is this?" But just as she finished asking, she saw Chun Tian sitting in the driver's seat. "Meng Yin, this is Boss Spoils of War. It's quite valuable, a modified Hummer." Chun Tian quite liked this car. It was quite domineering, but it didn't have as many seats as the Jeep, so it couldn't fit more than a few people. This Hummer was Little E and Little Eleven's car. Lin Yi was angry, so he took the car for himself. In fact, although it was a modified car, it was only a few million. This amount of money didn't mean much to Lin Yi and Chun Tian. They were happy that this car belonged to Little E. This was a classic case of throwing away a car to save the king. Although the car door was locked, it was nothing to Lin Yi. However, Lin Yi and Chun Tian didn't know that Little E had put his Sky-class weapon in the trunk of the Hummer, and Lin Yi didn't search for it. Poor Little E, he was waiting for a few days to calm down before sending someone to drive the car back. After all, as far as he was concerned, a locked car on the streets of the common world wouldn't be a problem. On the way, he saw many private cars parked on the side of the road, and nothing happened. But he'd forgotten that he was parked on House Sun's private turf. He could tell with one look that this Hummer with a foreign license plate was probably Xiao Yi's car when he first got here. After parking the car, Meng Yao and Lin Yi walked into the villa together, calling out as they walked, "Shu, Lin Yi's back. Don't you miss him? Come down." "Oh, Shield Bro's back?" Yushu said as she ran down the stairs. She had just finished showering and was drying her hair. She was quite happy, but when she saw Flaming Cloud enter the door with Lin Yi, his expression froze for a moment. Fiery Cloud? Shield Bro, why did you let him in?" Yushu hated Huang Mingyun from the bottom of her heart. "He's a bad guy." "Shu, do you have some misunderstanding about Fiery Cloud?" Lin Yi was a little puzzled by Yushu's attitude. Yushu looked like she was crazy every day, but she never messed around when it came to big things. Lin Yi felt that there was something wrong with this situation. "There's no misunderstanding. This person was barbecuing at the entrance of the villa using martial arts. He's planning to roast Skybolt Pig into a roast suckling pig." Yushu started framing Hua Haiyun. "That second sister-in-law. What did I roast suckling pig?" Flaming Fire Cloud was speechless, but he didn't dare to retort and could only ask with a wry smile. "All right, Shu." Hua Haiyun was helping out just now. He was heavily injured by a Sky-class late phase Peak Master. "He's not a bad guy," Lin Yi said to Shu. "Oh." Yushu could only sit on the sofa sullenly after seeing that her defamation of Hua Haiyun didn't work out. "Boss, second sister-in-law, seems to have some misunderstanding about me." Hua Haiyun really couldn't understand how he had offended this child-faced girl. He seemed to have been serious from the moment he arrived, right? And he didn't show any covetous look towards her like some of the other young masters did. "There's no misunderstanding. You're the one who's bad." Yushu mumbled. "Shu, stop messing around." Meng Yao glared at Shu as well. "Don't you want to hear Lin Yi's story about his trip to House Sun?" Of course I do. Yushu loved listening to Lin Yi's stories the most. Every time Lin Yi came back, she would listen with great interest. She could only give up on attacking Hua Haiyun and shut her mouth. Lin Yi smiled. He didn't know what to do with Shu, but with Hua Haiyun here, he couldn't ask too much. He only turned to Qintian. Qintian, tell Shu and the others about what happened. Okay. Qintian nodded and told Meng Yao and Yushu everything that happened in detail. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't expect that the Xianxian elder would make a move again, and this time it was against House Sun. Sun Jingyi was Falbert's daughter, and Meng Yao was very concerned about her safety. When Meng Yao heard about Little 11 using needles to torture Sun Jingyi, her face turned red with anger. Lin Yi, did you teach that Little 11 a lesson after that? Haha, just keep listening to Wu Qintian. Lin Yi smiled as he turned to Meng Yao. And so, Meng Yao could only listen patiently, even though she knew that Sun Jingyi was fine. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to come back so easily. But after listening to Qintian's story, Lin Yi gave him a taste of his own medicine, using needles to torture Little 11. She couldn't help but smile excitedly. The Miss wasn't a cruel person. In fact, she was very kind, but this time she was really angry. This Little 11 was the one who tortured Han Jingjing last time, almost killing her, and now it was Sun Jingyi. No matter how kind Meng Yao was, she couldn't tolerate her anymore. Yushu, on the other hand, felt that it wasn't ruthless enough. She interrupted, "Oh, if Shu was here, we'd tie her to Feng's tail and run 10 laps with her." Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. "I want to, but there's no time. If it wasn't for Hua Haiyun stopping Little Yi's attack, I would have had to kill Little 11 immediately. I wouldn't have been able to torture her." Qintian continued the story, and Meng Yao and Shu couldn't help but click their tongues. Luckily, Lin Yi had left Tag Dragon as a last resort. Otherwise, if Lin Yi had killed Tag Dragon first, Lin Yi and the others wouldn't have been able to come back. This was something Lin Yi had no other choice. When facing an enemy stronger than himself, he had to find a way out. Otherwise, it would be very dangerous. Of course, if there was no way out, he could only fight with brute force. When Qintian finished his story, it was getting late. Hua Haiyun stood up and said his goodbyes. He wasn't a blind person. He knew that Yushu didn't like him, and staying here would only make things worse. Chapter 3042. After sending Firecloud away, Lin Yi called out to Yushu, who was going upstairs. "Shu, why are you in such a hurry to sleep? Don't you have anything to explain to me?" "Oh, I'm going to take a shower." Yushu stuttered. "Shower? Didn't you just take a shower?" Lin Yi asked as he looked at Yushu's wet hair. I'm actually going to help Yao Yao scrub." Yushu rolled her eyes. "Yao Yao hasn't showered yet. I'll go help her." "It's fine. I'll be fine by myself. You sit here," Meng Yao said as she pushed Yushu back and went upstairs. She knew that Lin Yi wanted to talk to Yushu about Firecloud. Although Meng Yao was curious, she asked Yushu about it before, and Yushu didn't say anything. She could only rely on Lin Yi to ask. Shield bro, you're leaving Shu alone and chasing Yao Yao away. Are you going to confess to Shu?" Yushu looked at Lin Yi with eyes full of love. Lin Yi was speechless. "Shu, look at you. How is this a confession? You're clearly confessing to me." Okay, Shield bro, Shu is confessing to you." Yushu heard Lin Yi's words and went along with Lin Yi's words. "What do you think of Shu? Can I be your small wife?" "All right, Shu." Lin Yi's expression turned serious as he looked at Yushu. "Shu, although you're good at disguising yourself in many situations, we're too familiar with each other. However, we're already too familiar with each other. You want to lie in front of me. I'm afraid you're feeling a little guilty, right?" "Okay, Shield bro, you're amazing. Now that you know, I'll be happy." "Then why did you say?" Yushu put away her innocent expression and blinked her big, watery eyes at Lin Yi, a little troubled. "Shu, why do you hate Firecloud? There must be a reason for this, right?" Lin Yi stared at Xiao Shu and asked word by word. "There is no love without reason in this world, and there is no hate without reason either. You didn't even know him before." So why would you hate him? In fact, until Hui Yaoxuan left the villa, Lin did not mention anything about going to the Hakanamada Desert again. It was also because Lin couldn't figure out the conflict between Xiao Shu and Hui Yayan. Actually, I'm not too sure either. Just as Lin was about to say something, a voice suddenly rang out. Little Shu opened her mouth. Shield bro, do you still remember? I used to have an engagement, right? Engagement. Lin was slightly taken aback. Yes, it's an engagement between me and an ancient sect. Yushu nodded. Lin thought about it. It seemed like there really was such a thing, but this was a long time ago, before Lin unified the common noble houses. Before the noble house meeting, House Kong wanted to become a noble house, and one of the noble houses had to be eliminated. At that time, people didn't think much of House Chun, but there was a rumor that Yushu was engaged to an ancient sect when she was born. This way, people who wanted to go against House Chun wouldn't dare to do anything rash. Although Lin had heard of this rumor, he didn't think much of it. After all, every noble house would promote themselves before the noble house meeting. It was reasonable for them to make up some lies. But when Shu mentioned it again, Lin remembered which ancient sect. I'm not sure, but it should be Flaming Mountain. Yushu lowered her head, feeling a little down. I don't know if it's this fire cloud, but I don't want to have too much to do with Flaming Mountain. So that's how it is. Lin realized that he had wronged Shu. She wasn't being unreasonable. She was just trying to resist this so-called engagement. If it were Lin he wouldn't feel good with this curse on him. Then I'll ask Fire Cloud another day. No. Yushu shook her head. Shield bro, please don't ask. Oh, what's wrong? Lin frowned slightly as he looked at Yushu and asked seriously, Shu, is there something you're hiding from me? No. Yushu's face froze as she stuttered. No. Lin took a deep breath and decided to have an honest talk with Shu. Lin was a sky class now, and he was no longer the novice he used to be. If Shu had something to hide, Lin wanted to help her solve it and share her burden. He said word by word, Last time, you poisoned my tea and tried to kill me with a knife in the middle of the night. I knew about this a long time ago. Yushu screamed, her face paling. She didn't expect Lin to know everything, and in such detail. But why didn't he say anything? Why was he so nice to her? Shield bro, you know everything? Then, why didn't you expose me and still treat me so well? Shu, I believe you have your reasons, and you're not a bad person. You don't want to kill me, right? Lin smiled and said, So I don't blame you. You pour me tea and you spilled it. You tried to kill me with a knife in the middle of the night, but you couldn't do it, lying to me that you were sleepwalking. Well, okay, I'll tell you the truth, but don't tell Yao Yao sis, she will be worried. Yushu hesitated and said, Don't worry, I won't tell her. Lin nodded. Pinky promise. Yushu put out her pinky. Haha, okay. Lin pulled Yushu's pinky and said, Can you tell me now? I'm not Yu Tian's biological sister. Yushu said weakly. I'm not House Chen's child. I'm an adopted child. Lin was stunned. He didn't expect Yushu to be an adopted child. Not Yu Tian's biological sister. But Ming Yao probably didn't know about this. Then does Yu Tian know? Who else in the Chan clan knows about this? Chapter 3043. Someone else? Who? Lin asked. People from the Hidden House Yu. Poisoning you was actually an order from the Hidden House Yu. Since Yushu had already said it, she might as well just tell the truth. Hidden House Yu? Lin frowned. This house, if it wasn't for my friend, I would have killed them like a dog. The hidden level is nothing to be afraid of. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Lin was telling the truth. Back then, the Hidden House Yu was a huge monster to Lin but now, Lin could destroy the Hidden House Zhao with a flick of his finger, and the Hidden House Yu could do the same. Whether it was Yu Xing or Yu they weren't Lin Yi's match at all. If Lin wanted to destroy House Yu, it would only be a matter of seconds. My parents were controlled by the Hidden House Yu, or rather, they weren't the ones controlling them. There's a very powerful ancient sect behind them. I'm not sure which sect it is exactly, but I have a feeling that it's not Fiery Mountain. Yushu said, because Fiery Mountain and the hidden house you don't seem to have much of a relationship. The hidden house you controlled your parents? Lenny felt that things were getting more and more strange. Then have you seen your parents? Or do you just believe whatever they say? No. Yushu shook her head. They didn't show me pictures of my parents, probably afraid that something would go wrong, but they gave me a bottle of blood and asked me to do a DNA test secretly. I also took my brother's blood for testing, and the results showed that I'm related to the blood they gave me. But my brother isn't, so this is true? Lin, he was shocked. Blood was something that couldn't be faked. If it wasn't, it wasn't. Even if Lin, he was a practitioner, he wouldn't be able to change these things. Yes, that's why I couldn't help it. They only forced me to do one thing, but they didn't tell me to kill you. Killing you was a later mission, but it was probably the hidden house Yu's idea. It had nothing to do with the sect behind them. Shu wasn't stupid, shield bro. After you became stronger, they gave up on the plan. The hidden house Yu, what role are they playing? Lin, he had a sudden realization. Yu Xing seemed to be a very smart man. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to make House Yu the #1 hidden house. He was not as stubborn as Old Man Zhao. This could be seen from the fact that he revoked the order to assassinate him. Once things went south, he would give up. A wise man submits to circumstances. However, he had a good relationship with Yu Bing, and he had an old relationship with Yu Ning. If it was any other hidden house's leader, their first thought would be to rope him in, but the hidden house Yu didn't do that. This also proved that the hidden house Yu had another backer behind them. This backer was extremely strong, even stronger than Lin Yi, so the hidden house Yu couldn't choose Lin Yi. This explained Shu's situation. But which ancient sect was behind the hidden house Yu? Lin Yi suspected for a long time, but he didn't have any clues. It was impossible for Fiery Mountain and Yellow Earth High Sect. The young masters of these two sects were his followers. It was also impossible for the Dark Palace. They wanted to go against him, but Yui wanted to help him. Ice Palace and Snow Valley were also unlikely. As for the Heavenly Elixir sect, it was the hidden house Yu's backer. It couldn't be the hidden house Yu's backer. Could be one of the 5 elements sect or the everyday and everyday sect. Thinking of this possibility, Lin Yi's face darkened. These were the 2 strongest existences in the ancient sects, and they had even surpassed the ancient level. But these were all Lin Yi's wild guesses. If it really was the 5 elements sect or the everyday and everyday sect, then Lin Yi should pretend he didn't know anything. Otherwise, if he went to House Yu to help Yushu, the 5 elements sect and the everyday and everyday sect might just kill Yushu's parents. They should be the messengers. Yushu said, "Shield bro, let me tell you a secret. Actually, Shu is also an inheritor." What? Lin Yi paled. Yushu's words shocked Lin Yi. Yushu was an inheritor? Should be. I guessed it myself. Yushu said, "The hidden house you told me that I have to stay a virgin because I have an engagement. As long as I do as they say and get married, they'll let my parents go." Oh, you thought of her as an inheritor from the aspect of being a virgin? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, Xiao Xiao's always like that. Then I thought that maybe the marriage was just a cover, and the real thing I wanted to do was to accept the inheritance. Plus, my body keeps getting hot for no reason. Yushu said, "I told you before, it's the fire poison. House Yu gives me medicine to suppress it, and if I don't take the medicine, my body will heat up, and I'll die from the heat. It's similar to Xiao Xiao's symptoms." Lin Yi nodded. He remembered that Yushu's body did heat up before, and she got better after taking a medicine. It was said that it was found outside. Lin Yi didn't pay much attention to it, but now it seemed that Yushu and Xiao Xiao were very similar. Flaming Mountain is the birthplace of the fire element. If you go there, you might really accept the fire element's inheritance. Lin Yi said so. You're afraid that Flaming Cloud will find out that you're the inheritor and not the engagement, right? Yeah, I don't want to go, but I can't. I can only drag it out one day at a time. Yushu said slowly. Shu, it's been hard on you all these years. Lin Yi looked at Yushu, sympathetic. What kind of girl was this? Her life was in someone else's hands, and her parents' lives were in someone else's hands. She, on the other hand, had to force a smile on her face in order to hide the pain in her heart. She'd been smiling every day, but it was just an act. She looked like she liked to mess around, but she knew everything. She wasn't stupid at all. I'm used to it. Yushu smiled. Linny, bro, don't tell Yao Yao sis I don't want her to worry. She's a person with a lot of things on her mind, and I'm afraid that she'll be sad if she finds out. Chapter 3044. The Miss was indeed the type of person who kept everything to herself. Not letting her know about it was for her own good. Just call me Shield Bro. I'm not used to it yet. Yushu smiled. I'll help you find out about Flaming Mountain's inheritance. As for House Yu, I'll find a chance to ask you Bing. Don't worry, since they're asking you to do something, they won't do anything to your parents for now. They're still safe for now. Lin E comforted, but it's not too long until this situation is broken. Once I increase my strength again, I'll be able to kill a Sky-class late-phase peak in one hit. Then, I'll be in charge of everything in the world of practitioners. The rules will also be set by me. Lin, he had this kind of pride now. From a common noble house to a hidden noble house. Lin, he had already started to step into the ancient level. In the near future, Lin, he might stand at the top of the pyramid of the ancient level. At that time, all the ancient sects would be the same as the hidden sections. They would either surrender or be annihilated. Yes, Shu believed that Shield Bro has the strength. Yushu had always trusted Lin E. Let's call it a day. I'll pay attention to this. Lin E said to Yushu. Okay, I'm going to sleep now. I'm so sleepy. Yushu yawned as she wobbled her way up the stairs, back to her usual crazy self. Looking at Yushu's back, Lin E sighed. So, Shu had always been unhappy. Her happiness was just a disguise. He went back to his room. Lin E called Boss Bai. With so many things happening today, Lin E had to talk to Boss Bai. Also, Lin E had to ask Boss Bai about Yushu. E, why are you calling me so late? You're back. Boss Bai's voice came from a phone. Teacher Bai, I just returned to East Ocean City, but something happened, and I need to tell you, Lin E said. Oh, what's up? Boss Bai took a sip of tea. Since Lin E wanted to talk to him so late at night, it must be something important. Xianshun, he sent Little 1 and Little 10 to cause trouble again. Lin E said, What? They're here again? Boss Bai was surprised at first after hearing Lin Yi's words, and then there was anger in his voice. He made a deal with me before. He won't make a move against you, but he actually dares to break the agreement? Not me, but Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi said, I'm guessing that he's just playing on the edge. He feels that if he touches Sun Jingyi, he's not touching me, nor your disciple, and you can't find fault with him. Xianshun, this guy. Boss Bai listened to Lin Yi's words. Thinking of Xuanqin's character, he was very supportive of Lin Yi's guess. Yes, it should be like this. Is Sun Jingyi in danger? What's going on? It's like this. Lin Yi told what happened today in detail. He told Boss Bai everything, treating Tag and Dragon. However, you actually disabled Little 11. I'm afraid Xianshun will not let this matter go. Hearing that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi and the others were all fine. While Boss Bai was relieved, he also began to worry about Lin Yi, even without Little 11. Will Patriarch Xianshun let me off just like that? He has always wanted to kill me, and it has never changed. Now, he just has an agreement with you, so he hasn't made a move yet. Lin Yi said, That's true. Boss Bai thought about it, and it was indeed the case. So he said, Don't worry. This time it was Xianshun who provoked you first. You only fought back. If they come looking for me, I'll talk to them. And one more thing. Do you know about the inheritor of Fiery Mountain? Lin Yi asked. Oh, Fiery Mountain? They do have an inheritor, but I don't know about the specific progress. Because this matter has always been handled by Xianshun and Little E, I have never been in contact with it. Boss Bai said, Oh, so the inheritor of Fiery Mountain is also arranged by Five Elements Sect? Lin Yi was slightly stunned after hearing Boss Bai's words. He had guessed that behind House Yu, it might be either Five Elements Sect or Everyday and Everyday Sect, but he didn't expect it to be Five Elements Sect. It must be arranged by Xianshun or Little E. They have been in charge of this matter, but why do you ask? Oh, right, you just said that Huang Mingyun from Fiery Mountain helped you to deal with Little E. Are you afraid that Fiery Mountain will take revenge? After a slight daze, Boss Bai said, The Five Elements Sect doesn't dare to offend the fiery mountain. After all, the fiery mountain is also very powerful. Although the inheritors are cultivated in cooperation, if the fiery mountain is really provoked, it will be very difficult for Xianxun to cultivate an inheritor of the fire element. I see, but I'm not afraid of Xianxun ancestors' revenge. Lin Yi shook his head and said, Little, he doesn't even know Huang Mingyun's identity, and he didn't introduce himself. I think he just thought of him as my little brother. What I want to ask is, did Fiery Mountain find an inheritor? I'm even more unclear about this. You should ask Huang Mingyun directly. Boss Bai said. Okay, I'll ask him then. After knowing that Xianxun was behind this, Lin Yi decided to ignore it for now. After all, Yushu's parents wouldn't be in any danger before she completely accepted the inheritance, and Lin Yi didn't have the ability to flatten Five Elements sect at the moment. This debt would be settled with them in the future. Bringing Yushu along would just be settling old and new debts at the same time. Master Bai, I have a prescription here. The herbs on it are rather rare. Do you have any? Oh, tell me about it. Boss Bai said. Sealwort, white wormwood, netherworld grass, red withered wood. Lin Yi was talking about the herbs used to strengthen meridians for the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery. Old Lin only had a small portion of these herbs. He didn't have a rest, so Lin Yi didn't dare to recklessly replace them. He could only prepare to look for them slowly. I don't have these things. They're all rare herbs. If you're not in a hurry, I have some seed that I can plant for you. But it is already winter now. We can only plant them in spring next year. The cycle is a bit longer. Boss Bai said. Chapter 3045. According to what Boss Bai said, it would take at least next summer for the herbs to be harvested, and Lin Yi couldn't wait that long. If you are in a hurry, I suggest you go to the cultivators market. They sell these medicinal materials all year round. Boss Bai said. Right. Lin Yi slapped his forehead. How could he forget the cultivators market? Lin Yi planned to get some elixirs and then exchange them for some necessary medicinal materials at the cultivators market. Although the auction had not been held yet, and the elixirs could be sold for cash, the Cultivator Association could also barter. It was feasible to exchange some medicinal materials with elixirs. Thinking of this, Lin Yi planned to contact the vice president of the Cultivator Association tomorrow and exchange some elixirs that Han Jingjing had refined in his hands for the medicinal materials he needed. After making the decision, Lin Yi continued to condense the forging fire. This was the only thing Lin Yi could do before cultivating the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery. After today's experiment, Lin Yi could already use the 9 needles of Fushi more skillfully. But Lin Yi's current strength level was limited, and the power of the 9 needles of Fushi was also limited. The next morning, Boss Bai had just woken up when he received a call from Patriarch Xianxun. Boss Bai glanced at the caller ID on the phone and sneered in his heart. I haven't found trouble with Patriarch Xianxun yet, but he called first? Could it be that he called to apologize? However, Boss Bai still picked up the phone, but his tone was a little cold. Xianxun? What's the matter? Senior brother Xianxun, there's something I have to apologize to you. Patriarch Xianxun felt very vexed and aggrieved. Little 11 was crippled, and he had to take the initiative to apologize to him. But there was no way he had to do so. Oh, Boss Bai was stunned after hearing Patriarch Xuanxun's words. Did this Patriarch Xianxun change his nature? Before, he just guessed casually, but he didn't really think that Patriarch Xianxun was here to apologize to him. He knew Patriarch Xuanxun's character. How could this person take the initiative to apologize to him? That before. I didn't know that Sun Jingyi is your disciple's wife, so I sent Little 1 and Little 11. However, this is also for Tag and Long. You also know how important Tag and Long is to our 5-element sect. If our 5-element sect wants to return to that level, we must do this. Patriarch Xianxun sighed. Xianxun, then according to your wishes. Even if you know that Sun Jingyi is Lin Yi's wife, you would do the same for Tag and Dragon, wouldn't you? Boss Bai retorted. That's definitely not possible. I will discuss it with you in advance, and if you don't agree, I'll find another way. Patriarch Xianxun paused and said weakly, Is that so? Boss Bai smiled non-committally. All right. I accept your apology. Is there anything else? Eldest senior brother, do you think Little Yi's car was driven away by Lin Yi? Patriarch Black Earth asked carefully. Oh, a car? What are you going to do? Boss Bai really didn't know that Lin Yi had driven Little Yi's car away, and Lin Yi didn't mention this on the phone yesterday. Moreover, Boss Bai really didn't know what was the big deal about a car. As for Patriarch Xianshun, did he have to specifically ask about it? The Five Elements sect wasn't poor. It's like this. Little E left in a hurry and didn't take out his heaven-grade weapon in the trunk of the car. Do you think you can return it to him? This was the purpose of Patriarch Xuanshun's call today. Otherwise, he would never take the initiative to apologize to Boss Bai. At most, he would apologize when Boss Bai questioned him. If Boss Bai didn't say anything, he would pretend not to know. However, after Little E left this morning, he quickly returned. The person Little E sent to look for a car near the Sun family didn't see Little Yi's car at all. This person wasn't a high-level cultivator and didn't dare to go to the Sun family to ask for trouble. He could only truthfully report the situation to Little E. Little Yi's first thought was that it was taken away by Lin Yi. Other than Lin Yi, who would steal his car? Thinking of this, Little E was really regretful and hateful. If he had gotten out of the car with his heaven-grade weapon, wouldn't it have been a different scene? He wouldn't have lost so easily. At the very least, it would have been extremely easy to get rid of Huang Mingyun, Wu Qintian, and Lin Yi. Even if Huang Mingyun was at the peak of the late stage of Heaven's stage, he still had the absolute advantage to kill him. However, a heaven-grade master without a divine weapon was the same as an earth-grade master who couldn't use martial arts. It was equivalent to having his arm cut off. He had strength but couldn't use it. It was simply too useless. And now, the car was taken away by Lin Yi. The car wasn't important, but the heaven-class weapon in the car was important. So, Little E had no choice but to seek help from the Xianshun old ancestor, asking him to help him get his heaven-class weapon back. So in desperation, the Xianshun ancestor could only call Boss Bai humbly. He knew about Little Yi's heaven-grade weapon. It was also one of the strongest heaven-grade weapons in the Five Elements sect, and it was the most suitable for Little E. With this weapon in hand, Little E could use his full strength and fight against enemies of a higher level. But without this weapon in hand, Little E was like a tiger without teeth. So even if the Xianshun ancestor was useless, he had to call Boss Bai. I can't say for sure. Lin Yi didn't tell me about the car. Maybe it was stolen by some car thief. After hearing this, Boss Bai said indifferently, moreover, Sun Jingyi was injured. Didn't you say anything afterwards? Of course, we have to say something. Aren't we discussing it now? Let's see what you need. I'll provide some for you. We don't know what you lack. The Xianshun ancestor could only say so. Oh, then I'll ask Lin Yi when I have time. See if he saw your heaven-grade weapon. Boss Bai said casually, but his tone sounded like he was just dealing with it. It didn't seem like he really took it to heart. Then I'll have to trouble you, big senior brother. The Xianshun ancestor was also helpless. He didn't dare to urge Boss Bai to do things. He could only think of urging him after a while. Chapter 3046. This made the Xianshun ancestor feel helpless. He looked at Little E beside him and said angrily, "Why are you so careless? We are in the wrong in this matter. Your heaven-class weapon was left in the car, and Lin Yi took it. Can he still return it to you?" Little One said bitterly, "Lin Yi is too treacherous, even more treacherous than you. He couldn't beat me, so he sent his spirit beast to attack Tagan Dragon. You know, too, that spirit beast strength is only at the peak of the late phase of Earth class, a whole level lower than mine. But that spirit beast skin is thick, and my attacks didn't do much damage to it. If I had been determined to kill Lin Yi, it wouldn't have been impossible. That Tagan Dragon would have been killed by that spirit beast." The Xianshun ancestor nodded. He was just saying it out of anger. This matter really couldn't be blamed on Little E. Thus, the Xianshun ancestor said to Little E, "Send someone to keep a close eye on Lin Yi's whereabouts. See if the heaven-class weapon is in Lin Yi's hands. If it really is, we'll think of a way to see it. If not, we'll trade with him. If it really doesn't work, hire the Bloodcloak Underworld sect to snatch it. It'll be fine as long as they don't have anything to do with our 5 Elements sect. Yes, I'll send someone to do this immediately. Little nodded. This was related to him, so of course he was very concerned. After Little left, he immediately sent the outer members of the 5 Elements sect, the Hidden House U, to keep an eye on Lin Yi. U of the Hidden House U was originally responsible for connecting with Yushu, so after adding an additional task, it was just a small effort and didn't add much burden. Lin Yi was preparing to go to the trade association early in the morning. He took out all the pills that Han Jingjing had refined and put them in the car. Then, Lin Yi went straight to the trade association. Hello, is this the vice president of the trade association, Ouyang? As soon as Lin Yi got on the car, he dialed the number listed on the golden business card. It's me. Who are you? Vice President Ouyang asked after picking up the phone. I'm Ling Yi. Do you remember me, Vice President Ouyang? Lin Yi said the name he had used at the trade association. Oh, it's Mr. Ling. Hello. Hello. Why are you looking for me? Vice President Ouyang immediately thought of Lin Yi, the man who was able to activate the 13th style of the Heaven class martial art with the strength of a peak mid-earth class. Among his friends, there was no special case like Lin Yi, so his memory of Lin Yi was still fresh. It seems that Vice President Ouyang hasn't forgotten me. It's like this. I have a batch of pills in my hands. I want to sell them. I don't know if Vice President Ouyang is interested. Lin Yi asked. The trade association hasn't started a new market auction yet. It's not impossible for you to bring the pills now, but you won't be able to sell them at a good price. Moreover, we only support bartering at the moment. You can't exchange them for cash. Are you sure you want to do this? You will lose a lot this way. Vice President Ouyang was still very afraid of Lin Yi, so he explained the stakes to Lin Yi in detail. If it was someone else, Vice President Ouyang would be able to trick them, but not Lin Yi. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to barter. Lin Yi said, then I'll go find you now. That's fine. I'm in the office of the previous market. You can come directly. Just report your name and show your strength. Then you can come in. The market usually accepts bartering. Vice President Ouyang said. Okay, see you in a while. Lin Yi said. After that, Lin Yi drove to the trade association. This was the second time Lin Yi had come to the trade association. He parked the car at the foot of the trade association's mountain. Lin Yi took the pills and rushed up the mountain. The same mountain gate. There were still 2 guards at the door, but they weren't the same people as last time. The last person had been killed by Lin Yi. These 2 people obviously didn't want to follow the footsteps of the previous gatekeeper. They didn't make things difficult for those who came here, so Lin Yi entered the trade association smoothly. Lin Yi didn't stop. He went straight to the office and found Vice President Ouyang, who was on duty here. Vice President Ouyang, long time no see. How have you been? Lin Yi smiled and walked forward to greet him. Mr. Ling, you're here. Please take a seat. When Vice President Ouyang saw Lin Yi, a smile immediately appeared on his face. He was clear about Lin Yi's strength, so he naturally didn't dare to neglect him. May I ask, what do you want to exchange for this time? The pills I brought this time are all here. Vice President Ouyang, please take a look. As for what to exchange, I have a list here. You can take a look. As Lin Yi spoke, he handed the pills he brought and the medicinal ingredients he needed to Vice President Ouyang. As for the pills that Lin Yi brought this time, most of them were first-grade pills that Han Jingjing obtained when she was bored. Lin Yi didn't have much use for them in his hands, and their value wasn't high, so Lin Yi directly took them to exchange for what he needed. First-grade pills. So many. What Vice President Ouyang saw in his eyes was business opportunities, not the grade of the pills. In a commercial organization like theirs, although first-grade pills were low-grade, they were also best-selling products. So he didn't think that the pills were low-grade at all. As long as there were benefits, he liked it. There's no problem with the pills. We can eat all of them. We just have to see if we have the medicinal ingredients you need. Okay. Lin Yi nodded and said, Vice President Ouyang, take a look first. Vice President Ouyang carefully looked at the list of medicinal ingredients that Lin Yi brought over and then said, Here, only 2 medicinal ingredients are rare medicinal ingredients. The price is relatively high, and one of them is extremely precious. We only have one in stock, but the amount you need is relatively small. We still have enough here. Oh, we have all of them. That's great. Then can these pills of mine be exchanged? After listening to Vice President Ouyang's words, Lin Yi was suddenly surprised and happy, and quickly asked. Chapter 3047. I understand. You guys also need to do business as long as you can gather all these medicinal herbs of mine. Lin Yi nodded and said, he didn't want to care about these small things. After all, he could exchange these medicinal herbs here. Lin Yi was already very happy. For Lin Yi, to be able to smoothly reach the third level of the Art of Dragon Mastery was better than anything else. It could be said that money couldn't buy it. That's good. I'll take you to the medicinal herb store to pick up the goods. Vice President Ouyang nodded and put away Lin Yi's medicinal pill box, then stood up and prepared to take Lin Yi to the medicinal herb store. The medicinal herb store was a shop opened by the market itself. In normal times, it also sold some medicinal herbs and ordinary medicinal pills, but the selling price was extremely expensive, usually mainly focused on barter, not monetary transactions. Lin Yi followed Vice President Ouyang to the medicinal herb store, which was located in the southernmost part of the market. It was not open before, only open during non-market hours, to provide some convenience for some people. However, the prices of the items here were very high, and the barter was at a disadvantage, so there were not many customers here. Most of them were not in a hurry, and were waiting for the market square auction to come here to buy things. Only those who were in urgent need would shop at this time. Prepare all the medicinal herbs on this list. Vice President Ouyang directly found a shop on duty, handed Lin Yi's medicinal herb list to him, and said to him, Yes, Vice President. The person took the list, quickly responded, and went to prepare the goods, while Lin Yi sat at the side of the resting area with the Vice President, chatting casually. Mr. Ling, it seems that you have a lot of medicinal pills in your hands. How long has it been? You sent another batch of medicinal pills. You have more than one alchemist by your side, right? Vice President Ouyang asked. In his opinion, with so many medicinal pills, even if it was a second-grade alchemist, it would be impossible to refine so many in such a short period of time, even if he refined every day without rest, because there was always a possibility that it would be wasted, right? Besides, no one could refine medicinal pills every day without rest. There was still time for physical recovery. Maybe 3 or 4. Lin Yi said faintly. Actually, Lin Yi wasn't lying to him. Han Jingjing, boss, Bai, Guan Xian, and himself were exactly 4, so it was 3 or 4. This, Vice President Ouyang's gaze towards Lin Yi changed slightly. 3 or 4 alchemists. This sect was not small. Generally, ancient sects only had one alchemist, and many didn't even have one. Even the Heavenly Elixir sect didn't have more than 10 alchemists, but Lin Yi's sect had 3 or 4. Moreover, Lin Yi's sect was good at fighting enemies of a higher level. Lin Yi could activate the Heaven rank martial arts when he was in the Earth rank, which made Vice President Ouyang admire the mysterious force behind Lin Yi very much, but he didn't dare to ask more at will. He just sighed and said, No wonder Mr. Ling has so many medicinal pills. It turns out that there are many alchemists. Lin Yi smiled non-committally. Han Jingjing's method of alchemy was not something that ordinary people could understand, and Lin Yi didn't intend to say it. Over there, the medicinal ingredients were being prepared, and all the medicinal ingredients were placed in a box on the counter. This was the territory of the trade association, so there was no fear that someone would dare to steal things. However, just as a medicinal ingredient was placed in the box, a person who came here to buy things not far away couldn't help but exclaim, walked over quickly, picked up the medicinal ingredient that had just been placed in the small box, looked at it carefully, and said, I want this medicinal ingredient. After hearing this person's words, the person was slightly stunned, but said, I'm sorry, this medicinal ingredient has already been reserved by someone else. If it's reserved, won't you give him another share? The person snorted impatiently, then took out a bank card. Isn't the price on it 50 million? I want it. Swipe the card directly. The person didn't have the person's bank card, but said, I'm sorry, sir. This medicinal ingredient, there's only one left. If you need it, please come back next year. Next year? Is there something wrong with your head? I want it now. You can just ask the other person to wait until next year. The person said overbearingly, and after that, he took the medicinal ingredient in his hand. It seemed that he didn't intend to put down. This was the territory of the trade association, and these people were not allowed to behave atrociously. So his face darkened, and he said, "Are you here? Don't you know where this place is? Vice President, someone is forcing people to buy and sell here." Forcing people to buy and sell? What the hell are you shouting for? The person snorted coldly and directly slapped half of the person's face, making it look like a steamed bun. The person spun a few times on the ground before stopping. At this time, Vice President Ouyang and Lin Yi also saw the situation here. This was the trade association's matter, so Vice President Ouyang naturally had to take care of it. That medicinal ingredient was prepared for Lin Yi, and now that someone had interfered, Lin Yi naturally couldn't sit back and do nothing. So, both of them stood up and walked towards the person. That was a master in the early phase of Earth class, and now that he was slapped, he immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. He didn't think that the other party would dare to hit someone here, and he didn't circulate his true chi to protect himself, so he was completely caught off guard. He pointed at the person, so angry that he couldn't speak. "You're here? Don't you know where you are? How dare you be here? Don't you want to live?" Vice President Ouyang sneered, revealing his peak early phase heaven-class strength. Bang! Another slap, directly slapped on Vice President Ouyang's face. An expert with peak mid-phase heaven-class strength. No wonder this person was so arrogant. So it turned out that his own strength was tyrannical. This time, Vice President Ouyang was also stunned. He had the strength of peak early phase heaven-class strength, and usually it was more than enough to hold the line here. Who would have thought that this person was actually a peak mid-phase heaven-class strength? I just want to buy something. If you buy it from me, then we'll live in peace. If you don't sell it to me, then don't blame me for being impolite. The person said coldly to Vice President Ouyang. Chapter 3048. Vice President Ouyang's expression changed. Although Lin Yi was powerful, he was only an Earth Stage Master. It was already extraordinary for him to be able to defeat a peak early stage Heaven Stage. In Vice President Ouyang's opinion, Lin Yi could only fight him to a draw. Therefore, when this peak mid-stage Heaven Stage Master interfered, it put him in a difficult position. After all, the cultivation world was like this. The weak were prey to the strong. Wasn't it the same for Lin Yi in the past? After intimidating Vice President Ouyang, Vice President Ouyang looked at him in a new light. Although he was angry at being slapped, the other party was strong. Vice President Ouyang could only swallow his anger and say, "Sir, this medicinal herb was reserved by Mr. Ling. If you want it, you can talk to him directly. Please don't make things difficult for our Cultivator Trading Association. Moreover, although you are a peak mid-stage Heaven Stage Master, our Cultivator Trading Association still has a higher level of strength. Aren't you afraid of revenge?" The cultivator nodded. After listening to Vice President Ouyang's words, he didn't make things difficult for him anymore. Instead, he turned to look at Lin Yi. "Kid, this is your medicinal herb? Give it to me, and I won't kill you. Otherwise, even if you get it, you won't be able to use it." "Oh, you mean if I don't give it to you, you'll kill me and take it?" Lin Yi looked at the cultivator with interest. He started chanting. Suddenly, his Heaven Stage early stage strength was revealed. "Heaven Stage early stage? You dare to show it in front of me?" The cultivator looked at Lin Yi sarcastically and said, "Yes, you can understand it this way. I'm threatening you. Don't doubt my words. I'll do what I say. If you dare to say no, I can kill you right now. This medicinal herb is exactly what I need. I must get it. Is that so? Then you can die." Lin Yi sneered and used the 9th move of the Frenzy 8 trigrams palm. Vice President Ouyang faintly narrowed his eyes. When Lin Yi revealed his early heaven rank strength, Vice President Ouyang was startled. Lin Yi didn't have this kind of strength before, but how long had it been? Moreover, Lin Yi was now in the early phase of Sky Class. Based on Lin Yi's previous pattern of fighting those stronger than him, this Sky Class mid-phase peak practitioner was really dangerous. Sure enough, Vice President Ouyang's guess was right. With a loud boom, the cultivator's body flew out directly. When he fell to the ground, there was a big bloody hole in his chest. The corner of his mouth was full of blood foam. He kept struggling on the ground, but it was likely that he would never get up again in this life. You actually dared to kill my Dongfang family's elder. Our Dongfang family won't forgive you. The cultivator used the last of his strength to say these few words. He couldn't hold it anymore. His eyes rolled, and he died. Vice President Ouyang's mouth twitched twice. The gaze he used to look at Lin Yi changed from equal respect to awe. What kind of power was this? In one move, he killed a peak heaven stage mid-stage expert. If Lin Yi wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. Thinking of this, Vice President Ouyang couldn't help but feel a little regretful for his actions just now. He didn't clearly help Lin Yi. He only stood from the perspective of the Cultivator Trade Association and chose to ignore the matter. Dongfang family? Lin Yi frowned slightly. What kind of family was this? Was it also an ancient family? But no matter what, he was killed. Although Lin Yi didn't take the initiative to cause trouble, he wasn't afraid of it. This Dongfang family would be a stepping stone for him to set foot on the ancient level. Lin Yi believed that even if he didn't kill him, he would do everything possible to snatch the medicinal herbs in his hands. If he let him go back and inform the Dongfang family, a large number of people would come looking for Lin Yi. Then, Lin Yi would be in even more trouble. Vice President Ouyang, what did you see? Lin Yi turned to look at Vice President Ouyang and asked in a gloomy voice. Although Lin Yi knew that Vice President Ouyang's actions were understandable when he asked the cultivator to look for Lin Yi, he also had some resentment towards Vice President Ouyang. So, his tone was very impolite. Senior Ling, I didn't see anything. Vice President Ouyang's entire body trembled. He jumped in fright and hurriedly said, Oh, then how did this elder of the Dongfang family die? Lin Yi asked faintly. I don't know. It seems that he was fighting with a disciple of another ancient sect, but when we rushed over, the other person had already run away. This person from the Dongfang family is already dead, right? After Vice President Ouyang finished speaking, he turned to look at the disciple who prepared the medicinal herbs. Yes, he died very miserably, but I don't know how he died. The disciple also nodded and said, Lin Yi smiled and looked at the disciple. My medicinal herbs, are they ready? In fact, Lin Yi also knew that it was impossible to hide today's matter completely because there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Vice President Ouyang and this disciple swore so confidently in front of him. But in the face of a peak late-stage, heaven-stage expert who was stronger than him, Lin Yi didn't believe that they wouldn't tell the truth. Moreover, those who hid before, although they didn't see what happened later, they could roughly guess it. Even if they didn't know Lin Yi's identity and only knew that Lin Yi was called Lin Yi, those who were observant could also associate Lin Yi's identity from those few trials. This was only a matter of time. However, what Lin Yi lacked was precisely time. As long as Lin Yi was given a period of time, Lin Yi believed that he had enough strength. Then the Dongfang family would have to think twice if they wanted to touch him. So, Lin Yi didn't particularly care. Right away, the disciple hurriedly said in fear and trepidation. Hurry up. Also, prepare a few portions of elixir refining materials for spirit gathering pill, small chi gathering pill, small circulation pill, and other elixir refining materials for Senior Ling consider in our Cultivator Trade Association's repayment to our old customers. Vice President Ouyang had previously offended Lin Yi, so at this moment, he had no choice but to compromise and build a good relationship with Lin Yi. Chapter 3049. Vice Chairman Ouyang, many thanks. It looks like we can cooperate for a long time in the future. Lin Yi smiled faintly and patted Vice Chairman Ouyang's shoulder. Of course. Vice Chairman Ouyang sighed in relief. It looked like Lin Yi wasn't going to pursue the matter any further. Soon, the medicinal ingredients Lin Yi needed and some medicinal ingredients needed for alchemy were packed for Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't stay for long and directly left the trade association. However, Lin Yi's trip was noticed by one person. That person was the hidden house Yu Yi. Yu Yi was also a heaven-rank powerhouse. It wasn't easy for him to follow Lin Yi without being discovered by Lin Yi. It was just that Lin Yi didn't think that he would be followed. He had just advanced to the heaven rank and didn't like to use his heaven rank perception. But then again, Rain One had followed them from a very far distance, and he had relied on luck to get here. He had also hidden his aura, so it was normal that Lin Yi didn't notice him. After all, Rain One was a sky-class master who had been famous for a long time. Seeing Lin Yi leave, Yu Yi didn't follow him. Instead, he called the old ancestor of House Yu, Yu Xing. Yu Yi, how is it? Did Lin Yi take out that heaven-grade weapon? Yu Xing asked. Lin Yi went to the trade association. I originally thought that Lin Yi wanted to trade that heaven-grade weapon, but I found out that I was wrong. Lin Yi came here to sell medicinal pills. He sold a large number of first-grade medicinal pills and a small number of second-grade medicinal pills. Yu Yi said because the elixir sent by Lin Yi was put up for sale, and the association also specially advertised that it was the same high-quality elixir from the previous auction, provided by Mr. Ling. Therefore, Yu Yi didn't need to investigate at all to see the purpose of Lin Yi's visit this time. Oh, Yu Yuxing was a little surprised. Lin Yi went to the trading association to sell pills. Yes, but during this time, Lin Yi had a conflict with a peak heaven rank middle stage expert. That expert was instantly killed by Lin Yi. He didn't see the situation with his own eyes, but looking at Elder Dongfang's body, he could imagine how strong Lin Yi was. He was worried. Lin Yi's growth was unstoppable. House Yu was no longer Lin Yi's opponent. What? Lin Yi can instantly kill a peak mid-stage heaven-rank powerhouse? Yu Yuxing was aghast when he heard that. Who is that person? I don't know. Do we need to investigate? Yu Yi asked. No need. Don't provoke Lin Yi for this kind of trivial matter. We, House Yu, shouldn't have any conflict with him in the future. Although we can't refuse the mission from that place, we can't let the hidden House Yu become cannon fodder for Lin Yi because of them, Yu Yuxing said. Yes, I understand. Yu Yi nodded. Continue to follow him. See where the heaven-class weapon is. See if it's still with Lin Yi. Yu Yuxing ordered. Yes, old master. Yu Yi replied. After hanging up the call, Yu Yuxing called Xiao Yi right away. He was in charge of contacting the hidden House Yu. Senior, this is Yu Yuxing. I followed Lin Yi and got some information about Lin Yi's whereabouts, but I didn't get any information about your heaven-class weapon. Yu Yuxing said carefully. No. Xiao Yi frowned. Where did Lin Yi go? Lin Yi went to the Slave Trading Association and then went home. Yu Yuxing said. The Slave Trading Association? Are you sure he didn't go to sell my heaven-class weapon? Xiao Yi frowned. I don't think so. Lin Yi sold some first-level elixirs and some second-level elixirs in exchange for some herbs. He didn't sell anything else. Yu Yuxing said. I see. Xiao Yi nodded. Then is my car with Lin? Well, Yu doesn't dare go near Lin Yi's house. You know that Lin Yi is a sky class now. I'm afraid of being found out. Yu Yuxing said. Then why don't you send a normal person to check? Xiao Yi asked. Well, I'll send someone to check. Yu Yuxing wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said. Although he was one of the strongest hidden houses, he was still trembling in fear when facing Little One. He didn't dare to resist. He was someone who could destroy the hidden House Yu with a snap of his fingers. Okay, if there's any news, report to me immediately, Xiao Yi said. Yu Yuxing hung up carefully and sighed. He had no choice. Between Lin Yi and the Five Elements sect, it was hard for him to do anything. If Lin Yi was weak, it would be fine, but Lin Yi was strong enough. Xiao Yi had lost to Lin Yi. This put the hidden House Yu in a difficult position. They didn't want to offend anyone, but since they had chosen the Five Elements sect, the price of betrayal was even higher. They could only go down this path. Xiao Yi hung up the phone and went to see the Xinshan ancestor. He repeated what Yu Yuxing said to the Xianxin ancestor in detail. Lin is going to sell pills? The Xianxin ancestor fell into deep thought after hearing Yu Yuxing's words. Kong Mingming was also there. He was now the son-in-law of the Xianxin ancestor. Their relationship was naturally closer. There were pros and cons to this matter. Although he married a disabled woman, his relationship with the Xianxin ancestor was even comparable to Xiao Yi's. Father-in-law, I heard that Lin Yi is in a difficult situation now. The company owes a lot of debts, and the only way for Lin Yi to make money now is to sell pills. Why don't we join forces with the Hidden House Yu and get more pills to hit the market? This way, Lin Yi's pills won't be able to sell so many. Although we can't touch Lin Yi, we can take a roundabout route and use this method to attack Lin Yi. It's actually not a bad idea, Kong Mingming suggested after listening. Chapter 3050. All right, father-in-law, I'll go do that right now. Kong Mingming's house had been bankrupted by Lin Yi's Miracle Dr. Guan company, so naturally, he wouldn't let go of the opportunity to get rid of Lin Yi. What Lin Yi didn't know was that Kong Mingming was up to something again, trying to ruin his business. Lin Yi couldn't care less about that now. He had prepared all the ingredients needed for the third stage of the art of dragon mastery, and Lin Yi started brewing the medicine. With the experience from last time, Lin Yi was familiar with the process, but he didn't rush it. He followed the instructions on the silk scroll strictly. After everything was ready, Lin Yi called for Huo Mingyun and Wu Qintian. Lin Yi had wanted to talk about the inheritor, but Lin Yi couldn't wait to finish the meridian strengthening, so Lin Yi decided to wait until he was done. Qintian, Mingyun, I'm preparing to finish the meridian strengthening, and I'll need to go into isolation for a while. It won't take long, a few hours if I'm fast, but I can't move during this time, so I'll have to rely on you guys to protect me. Lin Yi said. This was different from practicing, and if something happened, Lin Yi could just jump out of the liquid forcefully, but the effect wouldn't be the same, and the liquid would be wasted. This was a herb that Lin Yi had gone through a lot of trouble to get his hands on. He'd even killed an elder of House Dongfang for the sake of this rare herb. How could he let it go to waste for something so ordinary? No problem, boss. We'll sit at the door and wait for you to finish strengthening the meridians. Huo Xianyun was the first to express his opinion. Although he did not know what strengthening meridians was, he had never heard of it due to his status and knowledge in the ancient sect. However, every mantra was different, so even though Huo Xianyun was curious, he did not ask. Qintian, on the other hand, was already used to guarding Lin Yi. He didn't even need to say anything. He nodded and sat in the hall, guarding Lin Yi's door. After returning to his room, Lin Yi followed the instructions on the meridian strengthening recipe, and after drinking it, he jumped into a pot of dark green liquid. In an instant, Lin Yi felt a burning sensation on his skin, as if he had jumped into a pot of boiling water. In fact, when Lin Yi jumped into the pot, he was already prepared to resist the cold. Last time when Lin Yi refined his body, he would feel a bone-chilling cold when he jumped in. But this time, Lin Yi didn't expect that it would heat up. This caught Lin Yi off guard. Luckily, Lin Yi's constitution was better, and his ability to resist heat was stronger. Otherwise, Lin Yi would have really jumped out of the pot. Gritting his teeth, Lin Yi endured it silently. This was a test he had to go through before he stepped into the third stage of the art of dragon mastery. Lin Yi could only successfully practice the third stage of the art of dragon mastery if he persevered. The time it took to strengthen the meridians was different from the body refinement. The body refinement needed 24 hours, while the meridians only needed 4 hours. As a result, it was easier for him to get through this time than last time. As Lin Yi expected, the dark green liquid became lighter and lighter as time passed. Lin Yi knew that this was his body absorbing the liquid. It was the same last time. After Lin Yi's body absorbed the liquid, it began to expel the impurities from his body, completing the body tempering process. But this time, what surprised Lin Yi was that the color of the liquid kept becoming lighter. It wasn't like when body tempering, where the toxins were expelled after absorption. This time, It seemed to be completely absorbed into his body. No wonder the meridian strengthening time was shorter this time. It turned out that it was only the absorption process and not the detoxification process. About 4 hours later, the liquid completely turned into a clear color, which made Lin click his tongue in wonder. The burning feeling also became weaker and weaker until it finally disappeared without a trace. Lin jumped out of the water comfortably. He only felt that his meridian seemed to be a lot thicker than before. In the same amount of time, he could use more physical chi. Phew! Lin let out a long breath. This feeling was completely different from before. Lin felt that his realm had been improved qualitatively. He was afraid that whether it was compressing the true chi bomb or recovering physical chi, it would be faster than before. Thinking of this, Lin took out the silk scroll copy of the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery and carefully studied it in his heart. The 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery, butterfly transformation. In fact, this 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery, Lin had silently studied it many times before he strengthened his meridian. He had already memorized it by heart. He took it out this time only because he was afraid that there would be a problem. Last time, he was already possessed by the devil. This time, Lin followed the principle of being careful. After reciting the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery and confirming that there were no problems, he entered the space of the jade pendant and began to practice the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery. Little you're strengthening the meridian this time. Jiao Yazi was a little surprised at Lin Yi's meridian strengthening speed this time. It seemed like everything was going smoothly. I say, Jiao Lao, you're not hoping that I'll make a mistake again, are you? Lin said impatiently. Haha, of course not. Jiao Yazi laughed dryly. You're trying to practice the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery? Yes. Lin nodded. Since the meridian strengthening is done, let's start practicing. Time is running out, and the enemy is getting stronger and stronger. It's good to have a sense of urgency, Jiao Yazi nodded. Right, Jiao Lao, what's behind the 4th stone door? Lin asked curiously. I don't know. Elder Jiao shook his head firmly and added, even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. If you're looking forward to it, you can recklessly speed up your training. Haste makes waste. It's not like you don't understand this logic. All right. Lin was very helpless towards Jiao Yazi. Some things, he wasn't at that level yet. He wouldn't say no matter how he asked. In other words, Jiao Yazi's memory wasn't unlocked, so there was no point in asking. Chapter 3051. The moment Lin Yi's 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery began to circulate, the energy in the space of the jade pendant seemed to be gathered by an invisible net, and then quickly rushed to Lin Yi's side. The speed at which it gathered was incomparably fast. However, Lin did not have too many doubts about this situation. After all, when Lin completed his body tempering and used the 2nd level of the art of dragon mastery for the first time, there was a similar effect. Therefore, Lin did not care about these strange phenomena, but continued to steadily circulate the 2nd level of the art of dragon mastery. Next, Lin felt as if all the acupoints in his body suddenly opened up, and the energy that was gathered in the space of a jade pendant also quickly rushed through Lin Yi's acupoints into Lin Yi's body. This situation was the same as always, but what surprised Lin was that after the energy entered his acupoints this time, it did not directly enter his body like when he tempered his body, but was completely absorbed by his meridians. This was it continuing to strengthen his meridians before cultivating? After thinking of this possibility, Lin felt that his guess was very reliable. This feeling was as if the energy in the space of the jade pendant was helping Lin to nourish his meridians, making Lin Yi's meridians incomparably comfortable. As time passed, the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery circulated faster and faster and became more and more skillful. Lin only felt that the endless energy in the space of the jade pendant poured into his meridians faster and faster. With Lin as the center in the space of the jade pendant, more and more pure energy gathered here, waiting to enter Lin Yi's meridians and Lin, he could even feel the changes in his body. His meridians in his body became stronger and thicker. Lin, he could even clearly feel that as his meridians became thicker, the speed at which he circulated the art of dragon mastery became faster and faster. When Lin, he stopped, Lin, he could already circulate the third stage of the art of dragon mastery. Lin, he didn't continue training. After all, Wu Qintian and Hua Xiaoyan were still waiting for him outside. The two were probably very nervous, and Lin, he had to give them some time to relax. Returning to reality from the space of the jade pendant, Lin, he pushed open the door and walked out. "Boss, you finished strengthening the meridians?" Qintian asked quickly when he saw Lin. "Yes, it's done." Lin nodded. "That's right, boss. What is a meridian strengthening thing?" Hua Xiaoyan had wanted to ask before, but he had never heard of meridian strengthening. "To put it simply, I can heal you faster." Lin did not know how to explain, so he simplified it. "I see. That's a good thing." Hua Xiaoyan heard it, and a look of realization appeared on his face. He nodded and said, "This is very useful in a battle of attrition." Lin Yi smiled. Hua Xiaoyan only saw a part of the benefits, but he didn't know that Lin Yi's chi bomb compression speed had increased quite a bit as well. This was the ultimate weapon in a battle. Ancient House, Feng not long after Feng Nitian consumed the Great Recover pill, he finally woke up. His wounds were healed, but his arm couldn't be regrown. He couldn't use the heaven-defying arts anymore. His meridians were destroyed, and he had lost all his strength. He couldn't change to another art, and it wasn't going to work. Therefore, although Feng and I was clear-headed, he was unhappy. Feng Tianhu looked at his son, and his heart was broken. He was furious. Why was Feng Shipian able to come back safely from the test, even getting a great recovery elixir, while his own son was crippled by someone else? Wasn't just a bullshit boss. He was just a lucky bastard. "Nitian, how do you feel?" Feng Tianhu asked in pain. "Dad, I'm done. I'm useless." Feng Nitian had already checked his body, and he realized that he was no different from a normal person. In fact, he was worse than a normal person because he had no arms. "It's good that your injuries are healed. At least you're alive. It's better than being unconscious." Feng Tianhu consoled. "But I'd rather die than live like this." Nitian couldn't help but raise his head in pain and scream, "Dad, you have to avenge me." "Nitian, don't worry. I'll avenge you." Feng Tianhu nodded and said, "Whoever did this to you, I'll pay back double. Tell me, what's his name? Which sect is he from?" "Dad, that person is called Ling Yi. I don't know which sect he's from, but he seems to be a solo practitioner, but he and Zhang Naipeo used to be enemies. Just ask Zhang Naipeo from the Everyday and Everyday sect, and you'll know who he is." Feng Nitian said, "Ling Yi? That name sounds familiar. Where have I heard it before?" Feng Tianhu paused, but he remembered, right, Feng Shishou had a boss in the Sky Elixir Sex test, Lin Yi. Under Lin Yi's protection, he got lucky and passed the test. "What? Feng Shishou went to the test too?" Feng Nitian paused and asked, "What happened? How long was I out? Why is there a test from the Sky Elixir sect?" "Nitian, you've been out for half a year." Feng Tianhu sighed and said sympathetically, "As for Feng Shishou going to the Sky Elixir sex test, it was actually a ploy. I wanted him to die there, but I didn't expect him to come back successfully." "A ploy?" Feng Nitian paused and asked. "Yes, I was planning to ask him to get you a great recovery pill to heal your wounds. It was an impossible mission, but Feng Shipian got lucky in the Sky Elixir sex test. He got himself a boss and passed the test smoothly, even getting you a pill." Feng Tianhu told Nitian everything that had happened. "This guy sure is lucky." Feng Nitian didn't feel grateful at all. Instead, he said angrily, "The ancient Feng house no longer had any kinship. There was only fighting." "Yeah, I'll ask you right now, just who is this Ling Yi?" Feng Tianhu and the Everyday and Everyday sect were connected, and in fact, these ancient sects all had some sort of connection with each other. Chapter 3052. Heavenly Venerable Pure Star was the junior brother of Heavenly Venerable Pure Yang and heavenly venerable purine. He had the strength of a late-stage heaven rank. When Feng Tianhu was young, he had participated in the Ice Palace trial with him. They had some contact later on. Pure Star. I'm Feng Tianhu from House Feng. Pure Star used to be Tianhu's friend, but he was a Sky-class late phase now, much stronger than Tianhu. Naturally, he had to be polite to him. Empyrean was the title that the Everyday in Everyday sect gave to the current generation of disciples. In the past, Feng Tianhu had called Empyrean Pure Star, but now he had to call him Empyrean to show his respect. Oh, Tianhu, what's the matter? Pure Star asked. It's like this. I heard that Zhang Naipeo has an enemy called Ling Yi. Do you know him? Tianhu asked. Ling Yi. Pure Star paused and remembered who Ling Yi was. Oh, the Ling Yi you're talking about is Lin Yi. Ling Yi is his alias. What's the matter? Ling Yi is Lin Yi? Feng Tianhu was shocked after hearing Chunxing's words. Are you sure? Yeah, that's right. We all know about this. What do you know, Lin Yi? Pure Star asked. Ha! Ling Yi is Lin Yi? Tianhu gritted his teeth. But he still said, it's nothing, I just wanted to ask around. Thanks. Oh, okay, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Pure Star didn't have time to waste with Tianhu. He was half a step away from Sky-class late phase peak, and once that happened, he'd have the chance to step into Sky-class perfection. He'd be able to get a share of the pie in the Sky-class island plan. After Feng, Tianhu hung up the phone. His face darkened. Feng Nitian heard what Feng Tianhu said as well, so he quickly asked, Dad, you said that Ling Yi is Lin Yi? Feng Shipian's boss? That's right, it's him. Feng Tianhu nodded. Heavenly Venerable Pure Star wouldn't lie to me. It seems like it's definitely him. Damn it. Why did that Lin Yi help Feng Shipian and become his boss, then attack me in the Ice Palace's trial? Did he come to an agreement with Feng Shipian? Feng Nitian was furious. He always had the heart of a petty man, jealous of the heart of a gentleman. Who knows, but I won't let this matter go so easily. I'm going to bring it up during the family meeting and let everyone know about it. Feng Tianhu said, although Feng Shipian has been stripped of his position as the heir of the young master, there's no guarantee. You're useless now. What if your grandfather decides to restore his position as the heir of the young master one day? That would be troublesome. That's right. I can't let Feng Shirsho get what I can't. Nitian nodded and said hatefully, Dad, you have to help me deal with Lin Yi and Feng Shipian. I hate them. Nitian, don't worry. I'll take revenge for you. Feng Tianhu nodded. Today, two big things happened in House Feng. One was that Feng Nitian had awakened. This was supposed to be a joyous event for the ancient House Feng. But when they found out that Feng Shipian's boss, Lin Yi, was the one who crippled Nitian, the Fengs felt a little heavy in their hearts. Dad, Shipian actually took Lin Yi as his boss? Isn't that the same as taking a thief as his father? He's the one who crippled Nitian, the enemy of our ancient House Feng. Feng Tianhu was the first to speak up. Feng Tianlin frowned. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. Things in House Feng were getting out of his control. First, Feng Shipian was stripped of his position as heir of the young master. And now, Feng Tianhu was doing something that was even more disadvantageous to Feng Shipian. He was caught off guard. Originally, Feng Tianlin was prepared to talk to old Master Feng about restoring Feng Shipian's position as the successor of the young master. After all, Feng Shipian was the third-generation direct descendant of the ancient Feng family. If he wasn't allowed to be the successor of the young master, would the Feng family's lineage end? But now, Feng Tianhu made such a scandal, and Feng Tianlin couldn't do anything about it at all. It cut off Feng Tianlin's path of retreat. Feng Tianlin looked at his son, Feng Shipian. He was very angry. Of all the people he could have chosen to be his boss, why did he choose the enemy of the Feng family? Wasn't he just looking for trouble? Third uncle, what you said is a bit too much. How can I take a thief as my father? No matter how nice Feng Shipian was, he had to refute Feng Tianhu's harsh words, not to mention that he had implicated Lin Yi. First of all, if it wasn't for Lin Yi, I would have died in the Heavenly Elixir sex trial. He helped Nitian get a great recover pill to heal his injuries, and that's compensation for Nitian. Compensation? Nitian is now a cripple. How can you compensate him? A great recover pill is enough to compensate him? Are you kidding me? Feng Shipian, are you out of your mind? How can this be the same? Feng Tianhu said angrily. Tianhu, Shipian isn't wrong. He previously crippled a disciple of our house Feng, and in the trial, he saved another disciple of our house Feng. We're even now. Feng Tianlin finally thought of a solution. Nitian and Shipian are both disciples of our ancient house Feng, and we're a whole. If you want to cause trouble for Lin Yi because of Nitian, isn't that repaying kindness with enmity? How will others look at our ancient Feng family? Feng Tianhu was speechless. He didn't think that Feng Tianlin would stand on the side of House Feng, and now that it was true, he couldn't refute it. All right, stop arguing. This is a life for a life. Besides, Lin Yi helped Shipian get a great recover pill for Nitian, so let's forget about this for now. Old Master Feng waved his hand to stop the quarrel. He knew that Nitian wasn't going to make it, and he only had one grandson left, Feng Shipian. If he were to be killed, what would happen to House Feng? Yes, Feng Tianhu and Feng Tianlin nodded. Since Old Master Feng had spoken, the matter was settled. Feng Tianhu had a lot of dissatisfaction in his heart, but he had no choice but to return to Nitian's room. Chapter 3053. Dad, how is it? Did you kick Feng Shipian out of House Feng and fire at Lin Yi? Nitian asked expectantly when he saw Tianhu. Nitian, things aren't as simple as you think. Your grandpa said that a life for a life. With that, Feng Tianhu repeated Grandpa Feng's words to Nitian. Your grandpa isn't muddled. He knows that Feng Shipian is the only third-generation descendant of House Feng. If Feng Shipian is completely suppressed, what will happen to House Feng in the future? So, it's very difficult to use Grandpa Feng's hands to deal with Feng Shipian. Besides, Lin Yi is helping us, the ancient House Feng, and if your grandpa doesn't agree, then I can't mobilize a large number of masters to deal with Lin Yi. Feng Shipian, I'm so pissed. Nitian gritted his teeth, but after a while his eyes lit up. Dad, tell me the truth. Other than me, do you have another son? You know all about it? Tianhu was taken aback as he looked at Nitian in shock. I knew about it a long time ago, but I didn't think too much of it. After all, you wanted to raise me to be a part of House Feng, and that son, I guess, wants to help me in the future. That's right. Ran is a martial arts fanatic, and he doesn't really care about the power of the house. Of course, it's possible that he hasn't reached that level yet. And in his heart, he's just an orphan that I took in. He wouldn't want to fight for anything. Feng, Tianhu nodded. If you get the position, I'll never tell him the truth, and I'll only let him be an elder of House Feng to help you. Dad, there's no need to explain all that. I understand. I'm crippled now, and I can't fight for the position of heir anymore. Can't we let your son take the position? I don't want to see Feng Shipian doing well. Nitian said, unless there's something that can stop Feng Shipian from making a comeback. None of this is a big deal. Feng Tianhu sighed. It's hard. Although Lin Yi is the one who hurt you, Lin Yi is Lin Yi, and Lin Yi is Feng Shiliang. Although Lin Yi is Feng Shiliang's boss, there are two of them. There's no way to push the blame onto Feng Shiliang. Feng Nitian's face darkened after hearing Feng Tianhu's words. It was true that dragging Feng Shipian down with just this was a difficult task, but Feng Nitian wasn't willing to let it go just like that. He wanted to compete for the position of young family leader and suppress Feng Shipian, which was why he had participated in the Ice Palace trials. He had seen Feng Shipian as his mortal enemy since he was young, but he did not have any feelings for his half-brother, who he had never met before. So, he would rather let him take the position than let Feng Shipian do well. Besides, the most important thing was that Feng Shiliang was with Lin Yi. Feng Nitian didn't believe that Feng Shiliang didn't know that Lin Yi was the one who hurt him, but Feng Shiliang didn't report it, and even when the truth was exposed, he still protected Lin Yi. This made Feng Nitian furious. Dad, no matter what price I have to pay, I don't want Feng Shuliang to have a good life. I'd rather die than live in dishonor. Nitian, I know how you feel, but this isn't a matter of life and death. Even if we try our best to drag him down, we don't have any bargaining chips. Feng Tianhu, of course, wanted Feng Shuliang dead. As long as Feng Shuliang was dead, Feng Tianlin wouldn't have the heart to continue sitting on the position of heir. At that time, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for Feng Tianhu to get the position? But it was a good idea, but it couldn't be realized. Old Feng was very smart, and normal things wouldn't be able to send Feng Shuliang to the 18th level of hell. Dad, I have an idea. Suddenly, a vicious light flashed across Feng Nitian's eyes. What idea? Feng Tianhu paused. If I die, Feng Shuliang will never be able to rise again. Nitian gritted his teeth. I don't want to live anyways, but Dad, you have to be ruthless. Poison me and blame it on Feng Shipian. And even if Grandpa suspects you, the crime of murdering his own brother will be enough to make him lose the heir position. Nitian gritted his teeth. I don't want to live anymore. Nitian, you. Feng Tianhu's eyes widened. He didn't expect Feng Nitian to be this crazy, using this method to frame Feng Shuliang. This was too ruthless, using his own life to harm others. Dad, you don't have to say anything. I've made up my mind. Feng Nitian waved his hand. I'm already a cripple. Anyway, if I die a worthy death, I'll be able to ruin Feng Shuliang's life. Nitian, you have to understand that even if you die, you can't blame it on Feng Shuliang. Even if you're poisoned, it might not be because of the great recovery pill. How can you blame it on him? You'll lose your life for nothing. It's not worth it. We have to think about this. Feng Tianhu's mouth twitched. Feng Nitian had gone crazy. He had reached a level where he would do anything for revenge. It was scary. Dad, think about it. If Feng Shuliang comes to see me and I take the poison and I scream, Feng Shuliang, why did you poison me? Did Lin Yi send you? What would happen? Feng Nitian smiled darkly. At that time, even if Grandpa doesn't believe it, he'll be suspicious. I'm afraid that Feng Shuliang won't have the heir position anymore. Then, you can push out my brother that I've never met before, and Grandpa would be more than happy to let him be the heir, right? But that way, Nitian, you'll be sacrificing too much. All the benefits will go to Ran and I. Your death is not worth it at all. Feng Nitian was moved. He had to admit that this father and son duo were both ruthless. How is it not worth it? As long as Feng Shuliang dies, I'll be satisfied, Feng Nitian said. Dad, after I die, you have to help me get revenge on Lin Yi, kill him, and let me die a worthy death. All right, I promise you. Feng Tianhu gritted his teeth and nodded. Don't worry, I'll help you ruin Feng Shuliang's reputation and kill Lin Yi. Chapter 3054. There was no meaning in living anymore, and it would only lead to a twisted mentality. It was dinner time, and logically speaking, Feng Nitian should be at the table after he woke up. After all, this dinner was specially prepared to celebrate Feng Nitian's recovery. But when the dishes were laid out and everyone was about to sit down, Feng Nitian didn't show up. Feng Tianhu walked over with a worried face. Father, Nitian isn't in a good mood. His arms are broken, and he can't practice heaven-defying arts anymore. He feels guilty and doesn't dare to come for dinner. Oh, Elder Feng paused. What's there to feel guilty about? Tianhu, try to persuade him again. Even without arms, he can still cultivate external mental cultivation methods. We, the ancient Feng family, can still find some external mental cultivation methods. When the time comes, he will still be able to achieve something. These words were actually a little hollow and pale. Without an arm, if he continued to cultivate external techniques, how far could he reach? Plus, Feng Nitian was past the best age to practice physical arts. Even if he practiced, he wouldn't be able to do much. He could strengthen his body, but it would be hard for him to step into the golden class. Someone like Faubert, who had both arms, was only a golden class master after so many years of practice. One could only imagine how hard it was to turn from the inside to the outside. So Feng Tianhu smiled bitterly. Father, I try to convince him, but he's afraid that Shi Shui will laugh at him. So why would I laugh at him? Shi Shui paused. How about this, Shi Shui, you go talk to Nitian. Elder Feng said after some thought. All right. Shi Shui didn't suspect anything. He walked out of the dining room and went to Nitian's room. He knocked on the door. Nitian, it's me. Oh, cousin, come in. The door isn't locked, Nitian said. Feng Shipian pushed the door open and entered Nitian's room. He was just about to say a few words to Nitian when he realized that Nitian's face was a little red. Heaven-defying. Your complexion. Feng Shipian was startled and hurriedly asked. Cousin, I'm fine. I just woke up, so I'm a little hot. Nitian consumed the poison and calculated the time of his death. At this moment, he had Feng Tianhu's internal strength suppressing it, so the poison would take a longer time to act up. Oh, I see. Shipian nodded. If Nitian had just woken up, then his face would be red. Normally, people who had just woken up would have a red face. Cousin, tell me the truth. I was able to practice the heaven-defying arts, and I was the most famous person in the younger generation of House Feng. Have you ever been jealous of me? Have you ever wanted to kill me? Nitian asked. How is this possible? The more powerful you are, the happier I will be. The prosperity of our clan doesn't belong to one person, but to everyone. Only when everyone has strength can our ancient Feng clan be called the ancient Feng clan. Otherwise, we'll just be rogue cultivators. Feng Shipian shook his head and said resolutely, Really? How selfless of you. Nitian seemed to have expected Feng Shipian to say this, but I think you're waiting for something to happen to me, and when that happens, you'll be able to take over, right? Nitian, how could you think like that? If I really wanted something to happen to you, why would I take the risk to help you get the great recovery pill? Shipian shook his head. That's hard to say. Nitian's face was red as he coughed. Feng Shipian, my cousin, you know that Lin Yi is the one who injured me, and you still call him boss. What are you planning? Nitian's face was red as he coughed. Feng Shipian, my cousin, you know that Lin Yi is the one who injured me, and you still call him boss. What are you planning? Do you dare say that you didn't know about this? Feng Shipian was silent. Nitian was right. He knew that it was Lin Yi who injured Nitian, but Feng Shipian knew Nitian's personality very well. If he didn't act tough first, he wouldn't be injured. But, as a member of the Feng clan, how could he say this? Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Brother, can you get me a glass of water? I'm thirsty. Nitian pointed at the glass on the table. Okay. Feng Shipian nodded and took the glass on the table. I don't have hands. I'll have to rely on you to feed me. Nitian said. That's not a problem. Shipian carefully put the glass next to Nitian's mouth and let him drink. But after drinking the water, Feng Nitian waved his hand, signaling that he had drunk enough. Shipian put the cup back, but before he could turn around, he saw Feng Nitian spit out a mouthful of blood, staining the sheets and quilt red. The blood was all over the floor. There's poison in the water. Cousin, why did you do this to me? Nitian shouted. I know, it must be Lin. Lin, he asked you to kill him, right? Nitian, what are you talking about? What's wrong with you? Shipian was shocked. Feng Shipian, you kill me. I'm not done with you. Nitian shouted before his eyes rolled back, and he breathed his last. Nitian's voice was very loud, and not far away, in the dining room of House Feng. Everyone heard it clearly. Feng Tianhu's face changed. Feng Tianlin's face changed as well, and even Elder Feng's face changed. The three of them rushed into Nitian's room, and Shipian, on the other hand, was staring at the dead Nitian on the bed. How did Nitian die just like that? How did he die after drinking a mouthful of water? Nitian, what's wrong? Feng Tianhu was the first to rush into the room and saw Nitian on the bed with blood all over his mouth. He quickly hugged him and said angrily, Nitian, what's wrong with you? Why are you vomiting blood? Shipian, what's going on? Feng Tianlin ran into the room and asked Shipian. Father, I don't know what's going on. Nitian said he wanted to drink water, so I fed him a cup. And after he drank it, he vomited blood. Shipian didn't know what to do. Things were out of his expectations, and he didn't know what to do. Tianhu, my condolences, Nitian is gone. Elder Feng walked over and checked on Nitian's condition. Nitian was dead, and he knew that there was nothing he could do. So he sighed and said to Feng Tianhu, Chapter 3055. He sounded like he was about to cry. Against the heavens was fine just now. Why did he leave in such a short time? How is this possible? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Feng Shipian was a bit awkward. Nitian died in front of him, and although he wasn't responsible for it, he didn't know what to say. He could only speak carefully. Yeah, third uncle, we should figure out what happened to Nitian. Shipian, tell us, did you kill Nitian? Feng Tianhu glared at Feng Shipian and yelled, We heard everything that Nitian shouted just now. Don't deny it. Tell us, did you kill Nitian? Feng Shipian snorted. Feng Tianhu's question made Elder Feng and Feng Tianlin turn to look at Feng Shipian. Elder Feng was confused as well. He heard what Nitian said, so he wanted to see what Feng Shipian had to say. Feng Tianlin, on the other hand, believed that Feng Shipian couldn't have killed Nitian, but the problem was that others didn't believe him. Third uncle, don't be agitated. How could I kill Nitian? Feng Shipian smiled bitterly. Nitian wanted to drink water, so I gave it to him. You mean Nitian died on his own? It has nothing to do with you? Feng Tianhu snapped. This, third uncle, what I mean is I don't know how Nitian died, but it has nothing to do with me. Feng Shipian said with certainty. Nothing to do with you? I'll believe you just because you said it. I only believe my son. He said that the water was poisoned, and it was you who killed him. Feng Tianhu smiled coldly and looked at Elder Feng. Father, Feng Shipian murdered his own brother. What's the punishment? Tianlin, what do you think? Grandfather Feng also had a headache. He wasn't a detective, and he couldn't tell who was right or wrong in this matter. He couldn't find someone to solve the case, so he could only rely on his own opinion and ask others. Tianhu, you said it yourself. The water is poisoned. Does it mean that Shipian poisoned the water? Can't the water be poisoned from the start? Feng Tianlin looked at Feng Tianhu and asked, Poison from the start? How is this possible? Are you saying that I poisoned the water to kill, defying Tian? Feng Tianhu asked ferociously. That's hard to say. Feng Tianlin shook his head. I didn't say it. You said it yourself. Even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. How could I harm my son? I'm a moron. Feng Tianhu said angrily. Feng Tianlin, are you saying that you can also poison Feng Shipian, and father can also poison the two of us? Elder Feng frowned slightly. He knew Feng Tianhu's personality. It wasn't impossible for Feng Tianhu to push the blame onto Feng Shipian to suppress Feng Tianlin and Feng Shipian. After all, Feng Tianhu had been doing these things secretly all these years. Although Grandpa Feng didn't say anything and turn a blind eye, he knew that Feng Tianhu could do anything. He colluded with Feng Tianlin's wife, persecuted Feng Tianlin's first girlfriend, and repeatedly laid his hands on Feng Tianlin's illegitimate daughter. Grandpa Feng knew all of this, but he couldn't do anything about it. A house needed competition to develop. Without competition, there would be no sense of danger. Besides, Feng Tianlin's wife had a powerful background as well. She was the young miss of the ancient Dongfang house. The ancient Dongfang house was much stronger than the ancient Feng house, so the young miss of the Dongfang house had always been a powerful presence in the house. Even Grandpa Feng had to give her some face. But at this moment, everyone had their reasons. Feng Shipian was suspected to be the murderer, but in Grandpa Feng's eyes, Feng Nitian was a suspect as well. This cup of water was placed here. Feng Shipian came later. Tianhu, it's reasonable for me to suspect you. If you had placed a cup of poisonous water here, you could have framed Feng Shipian. Feng Tianlin said, How is that possible? How could I know that defying Tian must drink water? And it must be when Feng Shipian went to see him. How could it be so coincidental? You're bullshitting. Feng Tianhu said, Do you think this is logical? How is it not logical? But before Feng Tianlin could finish, Grandpa Feng's voice rang out. The water. There's no poison. Grandpa Feng picked up the cup and sniffed it for a long time. He came to a conclusion, but his face was a little ugly. Only the mouth of the cup, there's some poison, and only a small part of the side, this. Feng Spian's face changed. This meant that the evidence was against him. There was no poison in the cup, which meant that the poison must have been smeared on the mouth of the cup, but only a small part of it. What did this mean? This meant that the person who poisoned him knew that Nitian wanted to drink water, and he even knew which side of the cup he wanted to drink from. Other than Feng Shipian, who could smear the poison on the side of Nitian's cup when he picked it up? Who else could do this? Of course, what Feng Spian didn't know was that Feng Nitian smeared the poison on his lips. When he drank the water, he rubbed his lips twice when Feng Spian wasn't paying attention. Feng Spian, Feng Tianlin, what else do you want to say? Who poisoned him this time? Feng Tianhu roared. Grandpa, I didn't poison him. Feng Spian knew that the evidence was against him, but he still defended himself. He didn't want to be killed for no reason. If it wasn't you, then who could it be? Grandpa Feng only believed in his own observation. As far as he was concerned, Feng Tianhu couldn't have poisoned Nitian unless he knew the art of divination. Otherwise, how could he know that Nitian wanted to drink water? And how could Feng Spian pick up the cup and give the poison side to Nitian? This wasn't realistic at all. If it wasn't Feng Tianhu, then who could it be? It couldn't be that Nitian killed himself, could it? Who would kill themselves for no reason? This was the most likely possibility, but it was eliminated as the most impossible. As far as everyone was concerned, there was no reason for Nitian to kill himself. Since he was embarrassed to see Feng Spian, it meant that he still had a sense of shame. How could he kill himself just like that? Moreover, he committed suicide. Who gave him the poison? He didn't even have an arm. How could he take poison? Chapter 3056. Feng Tianlin was frowning as well. He didn't believe that Feng Shipian was the killer, but he couldn't find a reason to object. Shipian, tell Grandpa the truth. Did you do it? If you admit it now, I'll let you off lightly. Otherwise. Elder Feng seemed to have aged a few years in an instant. Although the fight for power in the family was heating up, Feng Tianhu couldn't kill Feng Shipian and Feng Tianlin in public. As for the illegitimate daughter and lover, they weren't considered part of the Feng family since they didn't return to the family. It was an unspoken rule to kill them. No. Feng Shipian knew that this answer would disappoint his grandpa. Who would believe him in a situation like this? But Feng Shipian still shook his head, denying it without hesitation. No, the rim of the cup is just right for you to have poisoned it. Only you could have done this. Old Master Feng sighed and said, Good, very good. Tianlin, lock the poem in the West Wing. I'll think about it before making a decision. Yes. Feng Tianlin had no choice but to nod. Father, Nitian died so tragically, you have to help him. He just woke up, and he still wanted to fight for the position of the young head, but he died just like that. What a shame. Feng Tianhu added oil to the fire, pointing out that Nitian still wanted to fight for the position of heir. This was the reason why Feng Shipian poisoned him. I said, lock Shipian up first. I'll think about it and make a decision. Elder Feng waved his hand. He couldn't kill Feng Shipian to avenge Nitian. After all, House Feng only had one grandson left, and if he died, there would be no heir for the ancient house. Yes. Feng Tianhu nodded his head in sorrow. He picked up Nitian's body and cried, Nitian, look, open your eyes and see. Grandpa is here for you. He won't let the murderer go. Feng Tianlin didn't believe that his son was the killer, but things were too complicated. If Feng Tianhu wasn't the killer, then who was? Who would frame Psalm? Old Master Feng shook his head, waved his hand, and said, Disperse, the banquet is cancelled. It was supposed to be a celebratory banquet, but with Nitian's death, it was cancelled. The entire ancient house Feng fell into sorrow. Feng Tianlin sent Feng Shiliang to the West Room. Although Feng Shiliang was under house arrest and wasn't allowed to go out, Feng Tianlin was still allowed to visit. Therefore, after Feng Tianlin sent Feng Shiliang in, he directly sat opposite Feng Shiliang. Shipeng, tell me, are you the one who killed Nitian? Feng Tianlin was also curious, so he lowered his voice and asked, Tell me the truth. I will never harm you. Dad, don't you know my personality? If I had harmed him back then, why would I have gone to ask for the great recover pill for him? Shipeng smiled bitterly. But the whole family doesn't believe me now. They all think that I killed Nitian. But why did I kill him? I risked my life to ask for the pill to save him, and then I killed him. Didn't I have nothing better to do? Plus, he's a cripple now. There's no conflict of interest between us. If I killed him, wouldn't I be looking for trouble for myself? That's true, I think so too, but your grandpa already suspects you. Feng Tianlin sighed. This doesn't seem to be done by Tianhu. So who did it? Dad, I do have a suspect. Feng Shiliang calmed down and thought about it carefully, thinking of some clues. Oh, who? Feng Tianlin was overjoyed and quickly asked. As long as they could find the suspect, Feng Shiliang's crime would be cleared, and Feng Shiliang might even get back his position as the heir of the house. It's Nitian himself. Feng Shiliang said word by word. What? Nitian himself? Feng Tianlin was taken aback. How could it be him? When I came in, his face didn't look normal, and he said a bunch of weird things to me. With that, Feng Shiliang repeated what Nitian said to him. If that's the case, it's possible that Feng Nitian took the poison himself and framed you. Feng Tianlin was enlightened. But where did Feng Nitian get the poison from? And he doesn't have hands. How did he take it? I'm afraid it's third uncle's cooperation. Feng Shiliang thought about it and analyzed. Nitian probably had the poison in his mouth, and that's why his face looked weird, but he didn't take it, so the poison didn't act up. Maybe third uncle used his pure qi to suppress it, so he was able to hold on for a while, and then he drank water and swallowed most of the poison in his mouth, and that's why he died. The poison on this cup was smeared on Nitian's lips. Although we've analyzed it, what's the point? Feng Tianlin couldn't help but sigh. Your grandpa won't believe you. Nitian's dead, and there's no proof. If you keep talking about this, he'll think that you're making it up to get out of this. Dad, it's fine. I'll stay here. I'll just treat it as training. Feng Shiliang was quite open-minded, and he could only take it one step at a time. Don't worry, Shiliang. I'll do my best to get you out of this, Feng Tianlin said. At the same time, in Feng Tianlin's place, Feng Tianhu appeared. Just when everyone thought that Feng Tianhu was going to carry Nitian's body back and cry his heart out, Feng Tianhu appeared here. Sister-in-law. Feng Tianhu's face, other than the pain from before, was now extremely dark. He walked in front of noble lady and called out, Tianhu, why are you here? The noble lady was startled. She was Feng Shiliang's mother, Dongfang Xiaocui. Just now, the news of Feng Shiliang killing Nitian had reached Dongfang Xiaocui through her servants, so she was surprised to see Feng Tianhu here. Are you here to punish me? Chapter 3057. What? Tianhu, what do you want to say? Dongfang Xiaocui asked. I know, my life is over. I don't have anything left to think about. I want to take revenge on Shirshan, but I don't dare. Even if I dare to offend Big Brother, I don't dare to offend you. Feng Tianhu said, Right now, I just want to avenge Nitian and let him rest in peace. I also know that Shirshan is the only bloodline left in the Feng family. No matter what, father won't do anything to him. So, Nitian died for nothing. I said, Tianhu, what do you want to say? Dongfang Xiaocui wasn't happy with her husband protecting Su Shihan, but Shirshan was her son. Of course, she wasn't happy that Feng Tianhu was talking about her son. Even if they used to work together, she wouldn't be nice to Feng Tianhu. Are you complaining to me? So what if Shirshan killed him? He's the grandson of the Dongfang family. How can you punish him just because you say so? To be honest, the Feng family doesn't have that ability. Of course, sister-in-law, I didn't say I want to deal with Shirshan. Feng Tianhu said bitterly, Sister-in-law, let me finish. I mean, I can't do anything to Shirshan, but I want to deal with my second brother. You want to deal with Tianlin? Do you think that's possible? Dongfang Xiaocui naturally liked Feng Tianlin. If it wasn't for that, why would she be so jealous and want to kill Su Shihan and her mother? No, what I mean is I want to deal with Su Shihan. As long as Su Shihan dies, my second brother will definitely be sad. Then I'll achieve my goal. Feng Tianhu said, I just want him to be sad. I lost a child, so he has to die too. Otherwise, the hatred in my heart won't be appeased. Oh? You mean you want to deal with Su Shihan? Dongfang Xiaocui paused. She wasn't as conflicted as before. She nodded. Then what do you plan to do? Feng Tianhu's suggestion moved Dongfang Xiaocui. After all, Su Shihan was someone she had always wanted to kill. Feng Tianlin secretly cared about Su Shihan, and it made Dongfang Xiaocui very angry. How could she let go of such an opportunity? Besides, Nitian was most likely killed by his own son, Feng Shipian. If Feng Tianhu refused to let it go, even the Dongfang family wouldn't be able to interfere with the Feng family's matters. After all, this was their private matter. Dongfang Xiaocui was just trying to scare Feng Tianhu. Now, Feng Tianhu said that killing Su Shihan would appease his anger, a life for a life. This couldn't be any better. Thinking of this, Dongfang Xiaocui nodded. To be honest, she was also afraid that Feng Tianhu would pester Feng Shipian about the murder. The barefooted were not afraid of those who wore shoes. If Feng Tianhu went crazy and wanted to blow things up, then Feng Shipian would probably lose a layer of skin even if he didn't die. This was not what Dongfang Xiaocui wanted to see. Before, she was a little wary of working with Feng Tianhu. Although Dongfang Xiaocui was jealous, she still knew how to protect her son. How could Dongfang Xiaocui not know that Nitian wanted to fight for the young head position? So when working with Feng Tianhu, she always held back. But it was different now. Feng Nitian was dead, and Feng Shipian was the only third-generation descendant of House Feng. In the future, Elder Feng would definitely choose him as the young head. This was why Dongfang Xiaocui was willing to work with Feng Tianhu calmly. Second sister-in-law, you know that Nitian has just died. Second brother will definitely be on guard against me. Once I mobilize the Feng family's men, he will definitely find out. At that time, I'm afraid that it will be self-defeating. Big brother will find out about our plan before we even take action. So, I'm thinking if we can let the Dongfang family take action this time. Feng Tianhu's plan was to let Dongfang family deal with Su Shihan. And when Su Shihan died, Feng Tianlin would know that his wife killed his daughter. Then, there would definitely be a gap between him and Dongfang Xiaocui, and it would disturb his mental state. That would be the first blow. The second blow was that after killing Su Shihan, Feng Tianhu wouldn't give up. After so many years of careful investigation, he had found out about Feng Tianlin's first love. The second step was to let Dongfang Xiaocui's people take action and kill Feng Tianlin's first love. If he killed Feng Tianlin's first love first, then after Feng Tianlin and Dongfang Xiaocui's relationship turned sour, Dongfang Xiaocui might let Su Shihan go. After all, that bitch was already dead, leaving only a child. She couldn't compete with Dongfang Xiaocui for anything. Plus, she was a girl and wouldn't threaten Feng Shipian's position in the family. Dongfang Xiaocui might let it go in order to not make Feng Tianlin angry. However, Feng Tianlin's first love was different. Even if Feng Tianlin and Dongfang Xiaocui had a bad relationship because of Su Shihan, Dongfang Xiaocui would still kill Su Shihan's mother. Feng Tianhu had already grasped Dongfang Xiaocui's jealousy very well. This woman would never allow Su Shihan's mother to live. Since they've already fallen out with Feng Tianlin, if Su Shihan's mother didn't die and let Feng Tianlin and her get back together, then what would Dongfang Xiaocui do? However, when Dongfang Xiaocui made her move the second time, Feng Tianhu would intentionally or unintentionally leak the news to Feng Tianlin. Although Feng Tianlin knew about it, he couldn't stop it. The only thing he could do was to send someone to stop it. Who should he send? In the ancient Feng family, Feng Tianlin was the same as Feng Tianhu. There was a limit to the number of masters he could use. The stronger masters were all controlled by Old Man Feng. Feng Tianlin couldn't personally protect Su Shihan's mother, so he could only send Feng Shipian. This way, he could pretend to cooperate with Dongfang Xiaocui and send people or hire assassins from Yellow Spring Sect to kill Feng Shipian. This was the third attack. Su Shihan's mother, and Feng Shipian were all dead. Feng Tianhu didn't believe that no matter how strong Feng Tianlin was, he would still have the heart to care about some family matters. As long as he was dispirited, then Feng Tianhu could take advantage of the situation and find a suitable opportunity to push his son, Feng Yiran, in front of Old Master Feng, and let Feng Yiran succeed. After Feng Yiran ascended and became the successor of the young patriarch, wouldn't the position of the young patriarch belong to him? Feng Tianhu. Chapter 3058. This plan was closely linked to each other. It cannot be said that it was not sinister. However, with Dongfang Xiaocui's intelligence, she would never have thought of so much. She would never have thought that her crazy jealousy would cause her to cooperate with Feng Tianhu and personally prepare to push her son and husband into the abyss. From Dongfang Xiaocui's perspective, no one would be able to threaten her position if they were all dead. Dongfang family? That's not impossible. Dongfang Xiaocui thought about it. But if you let Dongfang family do it, you have to keep it a secret. I don't want Tianlin to know that it was me. Of course, sister-in-law, we've worked together so many times. You still don't trust me? Don't worry, as long as Su Shihan is dead, then the scar on my heart will be healed. I won't have anything to worry about anymore. I won't stop Shimei from taking over. And you said it. I'll remember it. If you go back on your words, our Dongfang family won't let you go. Dongfang Xiaocui threatened. Of course. Feng Tianhu laughed coldly inside. Dongfang family? No matter how strong you were, you wouldn't start a war with the ancient Feng family for Dongfang Xiaocui's daughter. After all, every ancient family or sect had their own rules. If an outsider interfered, didn't that mean that anyone could interfere? These rules were all hidden, and no one would break them. All right, I got it. I'll arrange for a few Earth-class late-phase peak masters to go. Dongfang Xiaocui said. That's good. Sister-in-law, I'll be leaving now. Feng Tianhu didn't dare linger. If Feng Tianlin came back and saw him plotting with Dongfang Xiaocui, then his plan wouldn't be able to continue. Feng Tianlin came back not long after Feng Tianhu left. Dongfang Xiaocui put down her phone and pretended to be very concerned. Tianlin, I heard that something happened to Shimei. What happened? Is she all right? Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Feng Tianlin clearly didn't want to say too much. He still didn't trust Dongfang Xiaocui. This woman had brought people to beat up Su Shihan's mother. How could Feng Tianlin trust her? It was just that Dongfang Xiaocui's identity made him helpless, and Dongfang Xiaocui truly loved him. Other than Su Shihan's matter, she performed well in everything else, so Feng Tianlin had been with her until now. It's great that you're fine. Dongfang Xiaocui heaved a sigh of relief, and then she said, Tianlin, we haven't been intimate in a long time. I'm going to take a bath. Then, Dongfang Xiaocui winked at Feng Tianlin and walked towards the bathroom. Dongfang Xiaocui was try her best to please Feng Tianlin. If Su Shihan died and Feng Tianlin found out, what would Dongfang Xiaocui do? So she wanted to please Feng Tianlin in advance. Even if Feng Tianlin found out, he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. She was prepared to crazily please Feng Tianlin these few days. One had to say that Dongfang Xiaocui took good care of herself. She was the young miss of the ancient Dongfang family. The Dongfang family was also one of the strongest families in the ancient era. They also had a few face-preserving pills. Although Dongfang Xiaocui wasn't a sky-class master, she still used the pill, so she was still quite beautiful. She also had the elegance and charm of a mature woman. That flirtatious look made Feng Tianlin's lower body burn. Feng Tianlin wasn't in a good mood. It was good to vent it out with Dongfang Xiaocui. He took a deep breath and took off his clothes, preparing to take a bath. But at this time, Dongfang Xiaocui's phone rang. Doo-doo. If it was any other time, Feng Tianlin wouldn't be in the mood to look at Dongfang Xiaocui's phone. But today, maybe because he was in a bad mood, he picked up Dongfang Xiaocui's phone and read the message. Got it, little sister. I've been wanting to send people to deal with her for a long time. Not Weak is interested in her. I'll let Not Weak bring people to deal with her. We'll play with her first, then kill her. The person who replied was Dongfang Xiaocui's big brother, Dongfang Jinxing. Not Weak was his younger son, Dongfang Bushui. His eldest son, Dongfang Bushui, died in the Heavenly Elixir Sect trial. Feng Tianlin knew about it, but he didn't have much contact with the Dongfang family, so he didn't ask much. But at this moment, Dongfang Jinxing's message made Feng Tianlin confused. Who was Dongfang Bushui interested in? Who was he going to deal with? We'll play with her first, then kill her. Out of curiosity, Feng Tianlin read the text messages between Dongfang Xiaocui and Dongfang Jinxing. However, as soon as he read them, cold sweat started dripping down his forehead. His eyes were spitting fire. The text messages from before had infuriated him to no end. Because the previous message was Dongfang Xiaocui asking Dongfang Jinxing to deal with Su Shihan. She even asked Dongfang Jinxing to send a group of Earth-class masters to deal with Su Shihan. This made Feng Tianlin sweat. Dongfang Xiaocui. Feng Tianlin's eyes were spitting fire. Although the message wasn't much, it was a big deal. Feng Tianlin's previous thoughts were all gone. He owed Su Shihan a lot. Plus, as the young master, he couldn't let Su Shihan return to the Feng family. He couldn't let her return to the Feng family. He couldn't let her return to the family. Now that Feng Tianlin knew that Dongfang Xiaocui wanted to kill Su Shihan, he was furious. He didn't take good care of Su Shihan. He couldn't give her fatherly love. He even caused her to be separated from her mother at a young age. Her mother's life and death were unknown. This was enough to make Feng Tianlin sad. How could he tolerate what happened today? While Feng Tianlin was fuming with anger, Dongfang Xiaocui had already finished her shower and walked out of the bathroom. She didn't know that Feng Tianlin already knew about her plan to assassinate Su Shihan. She even said to Feng Tianlin gently, Tianlin, it's your turn to shower. I'll wait for you on the bed. Wait? Wait for my daughter to be killed by you? Feng Tianlin said coldly. Tianlin, what are you talking about? What do you mean by your daughter being killed? Dongfang Xiaocui jumped in fright. Her face turned pale, but she still argued, Tianlin, I don't understand what you're talking about. Didn't we agree that we were going to make out? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.